All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We've got a lot to discuss today. It's a long one. It's a good one, hopefully. And I'm joined here by a lot of very pleasant people. But the topics today are going to be quite long. Are going to be quite broad. We're going to talk about Wolfsburg. We're going to review the Wolfsburg game. I know it's been a while since that game happened, but we haven't talked about it. So let's talk about it. Then we're also going to talk about the Bochum game and what we expect to see in that game. So we're doing a preview for that game too. Then we might talk about the state of the Bundesliga, something that has been quite prevalent on social media this past week with an article that came out about Bayern should be, playing with a 1-0 deficit each game. That way, the league would be entertaining. I'm just like, really? Okay. So that might be something that we might discuss. And then last but not least, the most heartbreaking, the most important, and quite frankly, the saddest story of all is that Nianzou has left Bayern. And he's also starting right now for Sevilla. The game starts in about an hour. So maybe, we'll see his greatness for them while he couldn't shine as bright for us. But with that said, how are you all doing? I do hope you're all fantastic. I'm joined today by Mido, Tausif, and Daniel. We're probably gonna get a few more people coming in later on today. But yeah. Wolfsburg game happened last week. What's everyone's thoughts on it? I mean, just your preliminary thoughts before we obviously have a deep dive into it.
Yeah, I thoroughly, if I may start, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was actually in the stadium at the Allianz Arena and got to see it live. And I'm just happy that we got a clean sheet for what feels like ages. I'm sure it hasn't been that long, but it just feels like it's been ages since we've kept a clean sheet. And yeah, the first 20 minutes were a bit dodgy, I'd say, especially on Pavard's side, because he struggled against, I think Mamouche was the opponent. He struggled early on, but then after 20 minutes we found a rhythm. We scored two goals. Musiala once again brilliant, and then we slowed down in the second half, which I thought was completely okay. If you're going ahead with a 2-0 lead, you can allow yourself to play a bit slower. So yeah, all round good, decent performance, good game.
Yeah, I thought this game, the last three games we've played, I thought this game was kind of the hardest. The game, especially at the first half, I thought they were really solid with the Wolfsburg. But as the game went on, we started playing well and stuff. But I know we don't expect every game to be playing like against Frankfurt or Leipzig. The first game, there will be games like this. But we got the, as Tosif said, we got the clean sheet, which is really important. Feels like a miracle these days with Bayern getting clean sheet. So hopefully that continues. So overall, good game. Hopefully we can continue with the clean sheet and playing like that as well.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what everyone said. I thought the game management overall was pretty good to get the clean sheet. The first 15, 20 minutes was definitely shaky. Like you can tell Pavard was not having a good day. Musiala, Davies, and Upamecano were definitely my standouts. I think Upamecano's been a rock recently, so it's good to see him do that like day in, day out. I thought the attack, you can kind of tell Gnabry wasn't fully fit because I just thought the link up was a bit poor, and Mane was offsides a lot. He was kind of frustrating to watch. But other than that, I thought the game management was good. Besides the first 15 minutes, good clean sheet, and overall, it was a pretty good game.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I very much share the sentiment with all of you. For me personally, this was the best game of this season by far, because
Uh,
it felt like the first game. While our attack wasn't as good as it hasn't been in previous games, this felt like the first game where I thought the defensive shape, rather not just the defense, but obviously the whole team defending looked very, very good, and I was just very, very happy. You could say that the second half was quite boring. For the first home game, you kind of expected us to maybe be a lot more attacking, but to me, I like this not cautious approach. I think using the word cautious might be the wrong word here, but more so a pragmatic approach. I thought looked very good. Like I want to see more of this, and then we can always increase and do better in attacks. And I do feel like we would have gotten more goals too if I think it was you, Daniel, that said that Mane wasn't offside so much, and that's not just a issue that he's had in the last game against Wolfsburg, but it's an issue he's had in every game so far. But that's because obviously he plays on the offside line, so sometimes it'll go in your favor, other times it won't. And hopefully it'll go into your favor more time than not. With that said, though, we talked about someone mentioned Upamecano being a standout player as well, but I kind of want to talk about just our defense as a whole. Our five players if you include Neuer. Before we then move on to the midfield, because obviously there's a lot to be said about the midfield too. But what's everyone's thoughts just on the defense in that game? Because I think most people here would agree that our defense has been really, really good this season. Yes, we've had silly mistakes here and there, and there's been spells of like short, 10-minute spells or 20-minute spells where it's all collapsed. But on a whole, I think most people would agree that our defense has been good this season. So my question really is, did you think our defense was good against Wolfsburg too? And are they on the right path?
I mean, yeah, definitely. We've had how many matches this season? 3. The first one against Leipzig. Second half was the old Bayern, maybe even worse than the old Bayern, to be honest. Like 3 goals in 45 minutes. Then against Frankfurt, the same. In the second half, we kind of collapsed. This time, we didn't collapse whatsoever. As I've alluded to before, the first 20 minutes with Mamouche being a more pacey winger, he presented a lot of problems for Pavard, and that's something we have to take a look at. We have to take a look at in the future, and perhaps consider Mazraoui. But yeah, all in all, fantastic performance from the defense, especially Upamecano.
Yeah, if we only conceded 1 goal out of the 2 games, I'm not counting the Super Cup, just the Bundesliga. With the if it wasn't for Manuel Neuer mistake, probably be 2 clean sheets for now. But then again, the last game against Wolfsburg, can we really say have we been tested like with Wolfsburg attack? At the moment, let's focus on the positive, but let's see the next few games, the more opponent we play and how we play. I think the defense overall has been good so far, these 2 games.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said too. I also like the fact that like there's a lot more top class competition, whereas Upamecano and Lucas Hernandez both have to be on their tiptoes, like best shape possible, because if they're not, De Ligt can come in. Whereas with like last season, Sula wasn't really on it. He's not like that caliber of player from the past few seasons we've seen. So I think it's nice to see that like healthy competition. I also think like the defense is a lot more balanced now. It could be partially because of the midfield pivot too. I think it looks a lot better this season. Davies looks on good form too. He's playing a lot better this season so far. So I think the defense is heading on the right track. I think we have good competition. Everyone's playing well. It's just been Pavard who's been like kind of shaky the past few games. So either have a really good game or kind of poor so. But I think the defense overall is heading on a good track.
The thing about Pavard also is, like going back, like defensively, he was really not good. But going forward, he was very, very decent. At the very like very, very good. And obviously some fans say, oh, it's like 50-50 nowadays. Modern fullbacks need to be able to attack just as well as they defend. I'd agree, but not 50-50. I'd say still 60 or at least 70% is still defending. I prefer my fullbacks to be better defensively than offensively. That's a bit old-fashioned, I know. But that's why I looked at Pavard and was like, that like against very, very elite opponents, that could be a very, very a crucial position we have to think about when selecting players for the starting lineup. It reminded me in the first 20 minutes a bit of the Hummels performance against Mbappé during the Euros, where he was just so much like outpaced. Like Mbappe was at least 30 kilometers per hour faster than Hummels was. But at the end of it all, Hummels made these fantastic tackles, the same as Pavard. He he like got left in the dust by Marmouche, but he recovered with some brilliant tackles. But yeah, again, going forward, he was fantastic, and I just want to see how Mazraoui plays against like against any opponent really, but over 90 minutes. And I think it's going to be more the case of what the like it would depend like it will depend on the type of opponent. And if it's a certain type of opponent, Nagelsmann will opt for Mazraoui. If it's another type of opponent, but because the position is so competitive between the two, that's what I think. Yeah.
Well, obviously, we'll get into a preview for our next game, but there's a very good chance that Mazraoui might start that game with the fact that, you've got De Ligt and Upamecano potentially out. So you might have Pavard move to a more central spot with Mazraoui being the right back potentially. But obviously, we'll talk about that more later on today during this discussion. Daniel, there's one thing that I did want to mention because you brought him up, and that was Niklas Süle, and you said that Süle can't defend. Are you being how would I phrase this? Aren't you being extremely cruel on the best defender in all of the Bundesliga?
I mean, I said this with Sula. I think it was a mentality thing with him. I think if he had a better mentality, he could have hit better heights at Bayern, but he just couldn't do that. So I think it was like after the trouble season or during that season where I just kind of stopped rating him just because you can tell he wasn't fully there into the Bayern mentality.
But Süle's the next Beckenbauer. Anyway, with that,
Beckenbauer.
Where is this coming from? Have you always hated Sule?
no, I haven't. But it's the pundits in Germany. Now that he's moved to Dortmund, they're just absolutely crazy.
It's funny because when he was at Bayern, he was barely ever mentioned. But now people are like, oh yeah, he was the best centre back in Germany last year, and the second best centre back is Schlotterbeck or vice versa, and that's kind of funny.
So I'm just being a little tongue in cheek with all that. No, I very much agree with what a lot of she said. Like, obviously, in the past, I've criticized Davis quite harshly. I said that he hadn't had a good game since like the Barcelona game. And I still stand by that. Besides the preseason friendly against DC United, I don't think he's had a good game since the Barcelona game. But I think he's actually, I think this every week, I think he's getting better and better. I think that every single week, I do think that Davis is close to like not hitting his peak, but he's close to getting to like those levels where you're just like, yeah, this kid is something else. And to me, that's very exciting. Lucas Hernandez, I must admit, he is decent. He's not great at the moment, though. He's not great. Like, it's funny because people would have previously probably said that Lucas is our most consistent centre back. And now this season he's been mediocre. Maybe consistently mediocre, but he's been mediocre for the most part. So to me, I'm just like, ooh, that's tricky. Everyone thought Upamecano would be our weak link, and now here he is performing like this every single week. And it really makes a point. We got De Ligt to potentially replace Upamecano, but the way I'm seeing it, there are 4 players on our team that are undroppable at the current moment, and one of them is one that nobody expected, and that's Upamecano. What's your thoughts on that? Like, should De Ligt, I mean, obviously, Upamecano and De Ligt have a slight injury here, so both are maybe a question mark. But should De Ligt be played and Upamecano be dropped if they're both healthy based on current form? If we're saying De Ligt for Upamecano, of course, at Juventus, De Ligt did play as a left centre back, so he could play next to Upamecano. Right? They could play together. But let's just say you had to choose one, Delict or Upamecano. Is it fair just because we spent 80 million on Delict to drop, which I would consider the one of our most undroppable players, one of the few undroppable players we currently have in the squad? What are your thoughts on that?
Based on performances, of course not. Like if if both were fit against Bochum, I'd play the league solely because I want to see him over 90 minutes. But as you mentioned, perhaps like both are in question health-wise, which I didn't know. It's news to me, so good to know. But let's just say the this weekend on Saturday would be a Champions League semi-final, right? Right, just for the sake of the argument. There's no way you'd play Delict over Upamecano, and also but no insight. Mm.
I think you just kind of dropped out there. I'm not sure, Tausif, but
Okay,
you
am I
just
back?
yes, you are.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So because we have no insights into the training, so we don't really know who's doing best at the moment. If both the quality of both is quite similar, but based on performances, Upamecano, just as you said, is undroppable. He's like the rock in our defense, which is funny given how much stick he got last year. And yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot can happen in a few games. If we are talking about Upamecano last season, yeah, but he might have like you could say Delict, yes, but at the moment, the way Upamecano, what I like about him, the fact that he said like he's hired someone in like summer, in the like personal trainer in the summer, and he was working like hard and stuff. This is like dedication that you want to see your players. So Upamecano, the left, he has to work for it. You can't just because we got him, you just can't walk into it. So at the moment, Upamecano, he's worked for this summer. He started really well. So I hope he continues this. So I would say definitely Upamecano for now. Let's see what the left can bring when he has like a few games.
Okay, fair enough. By the way, if you can hear some background noise, I do apologize. My neighbors are currently partying, as you do on a Friday evening. So there's a lot of loud music going on in the background. So if you can hear it, I do apologize. If you can't hear it, ignore what I just said. Sad, how you doing? We are all fantastic. So we talked about a little bit about Upamecano, but the reason I wanted to bring it up is because, as we just said, he is sort of undroppable at the moment, but you also need to integrate, and it's a balancing act, I guess. But you also need to integrate your new signings in the likes of Delict, in the likes of Mazraoui, in the likes of Gravenberg, in the likes of Tell, and so my argument is, when would you substitute one of the players? Because okay, let's say let's just hypothetically, let's just say Upamecano plays like the way he has been playing for the rest of the season. Does the Lake not get a single minute
No,
besides in the substitute performances?
No, he would start, but he competes with like Lucas for that spot because you don't drop your best defender at all. You have to build on Upamecano on the defense if he's going to keep playing like that, and then you have to like compete with Lucas, who has been the shakier one of the two, and you go from there because you can't drop your best center back like this at all. Like if he's fit, if all the center backs are fit, Upamecano is the one who starts out of all of them right now. It's not fair to him to drop him after the harsh season he had last season with the criticism, for him to come back very, very strong to be our best center back, to drop him for a new signing when our left center back has been the one who's been shakier of the two. So I think the Ligt has to just compete with that left hand side for if Upamecano keeps us up.
Yeah. I mean, do you know the games like Bochum or like the Bokal games or games like that? But what Daniel said, I agree. You have to keep playing your best defender, but same time, these kind of games like again when you play in lower teams, I think you could maybe give a chance to players like you can try different with different players. So like Delict, Lucas, Upamecano, with Delict, you can try these games and see how it works. So I say rotation in the smaller games. Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of funny because we talked a little bit about Pava, and I want to talk about Pava a bit later. I know we're currently talking about the defense. We talked about Davis. We talked about the defense as a whole. We talked about Meccano, of course. But there's a second Leipzig player that came to Bayern last season, and that had a let's call it what it is, a bad season. Meccano had a shaky season. This player had a bad season. And yet, in this second season, with Meccano absolutely looking outstanding, this player is also looking great. And obviously, the player I am talking about is Sabitzer. Before the season begun, we all had our 11 of who we thought should play, how we thought the team should line up, so on and so forth. I don't think any of us had Sabitzer in a starting midfield. I know it's still early days. It's, one Super Cup and 2 Bundesliga games, so it's still very much early days. But Sabitzer Kimmich, I think I saw someone describe him as Sabimich, which is an awful name, but Sabimich. What are your thoughts on Sabitzer, but also the Sabitzer Kimmich duo and what it does for the team?
If you remember, in every stream pre-season, my opinion on Sabitzer changed, but I never had him in my dream lineup. That has changed because I've also always said we need someone to occupy this defensive midfielder role, like just a defensive element in our midfield. I had hoped like Goretzka would step up, or maybe Gravenberg would assume that role, or at least we can get Nianzou or Lima to fill that role if we do if we had bought him. But no, Sabitzer actually is like fits into that role. He drops so deep in our game, and also against Wolfsburg, and which leaves Kimmich with so much freedom to pursue his offensive endeavors, which is what I wanted from Sabitzer, which is what we are getting from Sabitzer, and which is why we are not going to go for Lima. I'm sorry, Cole, if you're listening to this. I know you wanted him. I did too, but it seems like the coaching staff and the board have come to the same conclusion as I did. If Sabitzer keeps his playing style up, maybe even improves it, we do not need Lima this season at least. We can always go for him for free next season, but for now, Sabitzer, I'm not going to say is undroppable, but is surprisingly like many people are will have him in the lineup now, which is very very surprising, and I'm happy for him because he's been a Bayern fan since childhood, and we always love to see that.
Do you think we gonna regret though this decision? Because at the moment, we can say Sabitzer is playing well, but again, like we need to see more games, like to see how, because at the beginning of the season, some players sometimes perform well and stuff. So I'm just my question is, I don't know if when we get to Europe, so that's why I want to say like top team in the Champions League group stage like Liverpool, or see Sabitzer, Kimmich how they do against these teams. I know it was the first game against Man City that we played. I think second game, yeah, but it wasn't our best game. So I like the way Sabitzer is playing at the moment, but I'm just a little bit like I have a question, like question mark.
I mean, it's completely fair to have questions in regards to Sabitzer and how it will, translate to the bigger games. But what I would say is as well is that, Goretzka, I know I'd never count him in because he's just injured too often, but Goretzka started training with the ball today. So he looks like he's going to be back within the next like 2 to 3 weeks. So that's going to be a positive. And that will obviously give more competition to the likes of Sabitzer, to the likes of Gravenberg. And I think also a name that people aren't considering just because of how well he's been doing in the half spaces so far, to the likes of Musiala, who, while I don't want to see him there, did play there last season for like half the season. and did relatively well. So I think just based on the 3 games, obviously it's still very early on, but based on those 3 games, I think Sabitzer has been better than anybody expected, and I'm very happy about that. And I think he just offers that little bit of more. People always want to say like Kimmich is not defensive. I don't think that's the issue. I just think he isn't disciplined enough, and I think Sabitzer offers that little bit more discipline that Kimmich doesn't have. So it's a nice balance between someone that is disciplined, not to rush forward at all times. And Kimmich's biggest strengths are, of course, his defensive aspects, but most importantly, it's his creative aspects on the ball. So I think he could fully utilize his strengths while also knowing that it's not going to completely expose our defense to a counter. So I do like how we've been playing with those two. And as I said, for me personally, the game against Wolfsburg was the best game we've had this season, despite the fact that it looked like, from the outside, it looked like the worst game we've had this season. But we need to talk about, I think we come to the second of the players that I consider undroppable. And again, if you disagree, that's fair enough. But the second of the players I consider undroppable, and that's I just mentioned him as well. That's Kimmich. What's everyone's thoughts on him so far this season? So, just for remembering's sake, he scored our first goal of the season, and in the last game against Wolfsburg, he got. Granted, it was an unintentional assist, but it was an assist nonetheless. He got an assist. What are your thoughts on how he started this season so far?
I mean, yeah, he's always been almost always been undroppable, even if he had like his worst phases. But He's just come out, all guns blazing, and absolutely magnificent form, and yes, undroppable.
Very quick
Yeah.
with the mute there, Talasif. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, Kimmich is undroppable, definitely. My just question I was gonna ask you is, you said your second player. Who is your first player? Did I miss it? Is it Musiala or
No, so the first player that
Neuer?
we talked about is Upamecano. So
No,
I
for you.
said,
No, you.
yeah, I've got 4 undroppable players at the moment. One
Yeah.
is Upamecano, the second is Kimmich, and we'll get to the other 2 once we talk about those.
Okay, going back to Kimmich, yeah, Kimmich is always. I know sometimes he's been in a bad form last season, but he's one player that really one of my top 3 undroppable players. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Kimmich's just Kimmich, really. Like, he can play like shit, but he's not going to get dropped. But it's good
Yeah.
to see him doing well, because I think he is really big for our team, like leadership-wise, ability-wise on the ball. So it's good to see him starting to perform well again, especially with the Sabitzer duo. So as long as he keeps it up, there's no issue.
Right, I'm gonna just very quickly, talk about this comment right here about Kimmich being a better version of Schweinsteiger. Obviously. That's all I'm gonna say. Obviously, right? I know Schweinsteiger is loved by the fan base. I like him too. But in terms of ability, I think I've mentioned this like 2 or 3 years ago, even like it was that long ago. Where like for me, Kimmich is like already. How do I put this? He's already maybe hasn't surpassed him, but he's already on the same level as someone like Effenberg. And to me, there's only like one other Bayern midfielder ahead of him, and I don't think he'll catch him. I don't see him ever catch him. But go on.
Sorry, go on.
Well, the only midfielder that is ahead of him, Bayern midfielder in history, is of course good old Lothar Matthäus.
Yeah, I mean, Kimmich, he's one of the best players on his position. Today earlier on, I was on Reddit, and then guys were arguing, and people were even mentioning between Kimmich and Casemiro and someone some other fans in Brem. So people know what kind of quality Kimmich is, even if our league doesn't get the exposure, like it's not. But people know what kind of player Kimmich is. So Kimmich definitely over Schweinsteiger for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Same
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, me too. I mean, I have a very, very soft spot for Schweinsteiger, one of the heroes of my childhood. But the thing with Schweinsteiger was also that he played the majority, no, not the majority, but like the majority of his earlier years on different positions. And only later under Louis van Gaal, I think it was, who put him on the number six position. And even then, sorry, sorry about that. But even then, he was nowhere near as consistent as Kimmich. I mean, prime Schweinsteiger, what we consider now as prime Schweinsteiger, was from when 2012 to 2014. I mean, 2011 was that horrible year where everyone at Bayern was basically like dropped 50 IQ points and aged 50 years. So yeah, and look at Kimmich. He's been here for now 7 years. It doesn't feel that long, but he's been here for so long. He's been so consistent, and yeah, at the end of his time, for sure, he'll be greater than Schweinsteiger, if not already. I mean, he won't have the streets like Schweinsteiger did, but he's a greater footballer. Yeah.
You know what? Just quickly to add, that midfield duo though, Schweinsteiger and Javi. I don't know. It's one of the best midfield duos though we've had though. That if only if we had like someone like I don't want to like disrespect Kreska or anyone, but I mean Kimmich and Thiago. I don't think they ever played like that. But Javi and Schweinsteiger was the guys. Those two guys. I really hope someone like that was playing next to Kimmich. No disrespect to Sabitzer or Kreuzke.
Yeah, someone who does the dirty work, right?
Yeah.
Who defends and is master of the dark arts, how Prince always calls it. Yeah, that would be ideal, but who knows? Maybe one day. Maybe Sabitzer will transition into that. Who knows?
Well, this is sort of why I was in favor of signing someone like Sangare. But even if we go back to someone a little bit older, I think Casemiro. I know obviously he cost a lot of money, 670 million is what United is spending on him. But if we had a Casemiro in the team, a Casemiro and Kimmich duo would be
Yeah,
absolutely
Yeah.
lethal.
amazing. Yeah.
100%.
I hate Casemiro personally, but there's no denying he's just such an asset, like such a force of nature on the football pitch. Every team, especially we, could benefit from his services, but he chose to, let's just say, he chose to join a club in disarray at the moment,
Would
and yeah,
just would Real Madrid let him go to Bayern though? Because if they now Bayern is like a competition to them,
Mhm.
like they did to Man United. If Bayern were interested, I don't know if they would. Maybe I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't necessarily see it either, if I'm being completely
yeah,
honest. Which is why for me initially, like Bayern should have gone after Chouameni, but obviously Bayern didn't, and I think like he is perfect, absolutely perfect. Is what he would have been for Bayern, but Bayern didn't go for him, and obviously Real Madrid paid. I think it was actually 70 million. So they're actually with the Casemiro sale, they're actually recuperating what they paid for Chouameni. Um, and obviously Chouameni is like an interception tackle, mastermind. Like it's almost like he's almost like a magnet. Like it just happens. He just wins the balls. That's just how it is, really. And I think someone like that would have been perfect for Bayern, even though he isn't, a more destroyer type like the likes of Casemiro, for example. He is not quite a number 8. I think nowadays people think that whenever a midfielder goes forward, they're an 8. Whenever they go back, whenever they defend and they go forward, they're an 8 or the box to box. It's not. He's not quite that. He is someone that likes to drop deep, someone that likes to control the game, but also is able to push forward if need be. Um, Whereas, like, I think most people describe Kimmich as someone that will go forward. and that's someone that can defend if need be. So I guess first priority is to attack, and then the second one is to defend, while obviously having that controlling aspect to his. But yeah, as I said, Kimmich to me is the second of the undroppables. I think I'll just want to talk about the third of the undroppables. And unfortunately, he won't be playing on Sunday, as Nagelsmann today mentioned. And of course, the player I'm talking about is also the player that scored. It's Bambi, Jamal Musiala. What are your thoughts? I mean, besides showering him with praise, which I think all of us are going to do, but beyond that, what are your thoughts on how his season has gone so far, and how do you think he will continue his season?
I mean, Bambi ain't Bambi no more. I mean, look at him. He's ever so slightly he's improved his physicality, which came in handy for the goal. Then you had also the fact that I'd say one thing it might be considered an unpopular opinion, but like before the summer, especially in his first year, his technique, especially his first touch, weren't as good as most other. Like considering the talent he is, but he's improved that so much. Like he has no deficits when it comes to his technical ability, and paired that with his also improved decision making, because I feel like last year he held on to the ball a bit too long, but now that's also almost gone. So yeah, I mean there's no doubt about it. Absolutely undroppable, and I'm just so excited to see how he thrives this season, and also for what he's going to perform or how he's going to perform and deliver for Germany at the World Cup.
For me, I said this before, but with Musiala, we really got lucky with him. He's a gem, man. I'm so happy at the moment the way he's playing. I just want to see how he plays in the World Cup. You know, the national team. If he plays the same position as he's playing at Bayern or with Flick, I just my worry. But there's nothing much to say. You know, with Musiala, we all know. We have all seen him. He plays like he's been playing for, and he's already looks like he's in his prime, but he's only 19. So yeah.
Yeah, the good thing with Musiala is that like him playing forward, he can get lots of goals for us. He'll drag defenders towards him. He's so well balanced. He can dribble, beat the defender, score, assist, everything. So this is going to be his season where he shows to everyone why Pedri is a dog shit player and why he's way better than everyone else in his age bracket.
Just a tiny little bit harsh, but who cares? By the way, if you're watching this, do me a favor. No, I'm not gonna ask you to like the video. I don't really care, but do me a favor, and I don't care about individual awards as well. But do me a favor, vote for Jamal Musiala for the Golden Boy Award. Just saying.
Definitely.
Not like I care, but I know I'll get some people mentioning it in the comment section. So before they can mention it, I'll just mention it myself. There you go. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, but I don't know. Golden Boy award seems almost kind of fairer than the Ballon d'Or award, because over the years it's been quite like diverse when it came to the winners. Normally there's a massive media bias towards Barcelona and Spanish players, but I feel like Golden Ball is like an individual accolade that he can definitely win, especially if he keeps it up. But when's the award?
I have no idea, but last I checked, which was the day after the awards, which was the day after the voting started, Kamavinga was at number 1, and like some random guy that I've never heard of was at number 2. So, just saying, Musiala has no chance.
Well, yeah, fan votes with fan votes,
Yeah, fan
no
votes.
chance.
Yeah.
I mean, have you like one moment today where I was like, no way are people this biased, right? Was when it was a training clip. It's got nothing to do with Golden
Messi
Ball
one.
Boy. The Messi one with the pass. I was like, what? 22,000 likes for that? Oh.
Am I correct in saying if you win once, you can't participate again? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So Badri is not in this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. But it's still fans' food, so the chances are still bad.
I'm surprised that like a Turkish talent like Arda, what's his name, Arda Gulsa, isn't first. Just because like typically whenever there's like a fan voting thing going on, and any Turkish player or any really it is just Turkish player. Whenever any Turkish player is in there, that person wins, even if it doesn't make any sense at all. So
I think
I'm
all the
surprised.
German fans should vote for Musiala, man, but they hate us, most of the fans. So
Yeah, but no,
they vote.
but I've not come across one German football fan who doesn't like Musiala. He's one of the people that you just can't hate, and which is rare for Bayern players. But yeah, people adore him all across the nation because they know they're gonna have to rely on him come World Cup.
Was it against Hungary that the one game in the Euros he made the
Yeah,
difference? It looked like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's good.
yeah.
Let me just have a very quick look. Just to have a look at and see who's on that who's currently. I can't speak Italian. No, I'm not gonna subscribe. Ha. Well, in that case, forget what I just said, and we're not gonna find out who is currently in the lead. But last I checked, it was definitely Kamavinga who was number one. And if I have a look right now, isn't it ironic? The only one that has a picture on the site. Actually, no, there's a few that have a picture, but the first one that has a picture on that site is Kamavinga. How ironic.
I
Musiala.
think
Let's
he's gonna
vote for
win.
Musiala and have a look. Sorry, say that again.
Camavinga has. He's gonna win. It's already over.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not doubting that in the slightest. So
Perhaps again, then.
looking at the results, Kamavinga currently has 17%. Let me scroll down further. With Gavi having 4.7%.
Typical.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is how I know this is BS to the highest degree. Do you know who's currently in first?
Hmm.
Guess. Who are the
Hungary.
best? No, who are the best talents in world football?
Chouameni?
Some English boy, 100%.
Oh,
Rashford.
No,
he's
Rashford.
not in it.
Foden.
It's not. No, you're all wrong. It's not one of the best talents in world football. It is
Nianzou.
Hincapié from Bayer
Who?
Leverkusen.
He's
Oh,
first.
oh,
Wait, he's first.
Piro Hincapié.
Wait, he's
Is it
first.
from Finland?
He's first.
No shot. What?
He's got 55.9% of the votes. Ecuadorian.
Is it
Fan votes are
Ecuadorian? Oh,
so
sorry.
bad.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing for the trophy.
Let's have a look and see where Musiala is.
Is it like a composite of fan votes, journalist votes, and or how does it work? Is it purely fan vote?
I have honestly no idea because I don't
Okay,
care
I'm
too
gonna be
much.
honest. If Hincapié wins, they need to do what they did with Lewandowski for Ballon d'Or, where they give him the best striker award. Just give him.
No, they don't have that anymore. That's
I
so
know. They
funny.
dropped that.
Where is Musiala? Am I
Give him
blind?
best young center back award and give it to second place. That's what they need. To do.
Wait a second. I can't even see Musiala anywhere. Oh wow, Musiala got 0.7% of the votes.
Typical.
Wow.
So-
Can you share the link to vote so that we can all vote?
I mean, I can share it. I'll share it in chat as well, so that if anyone is interested, you can vote through Tuto Sports website. But I'm just going through it right now. Again, I don't care too much if I'm being completely honest. I just find it funny if I'm being completely honest. So that's all it boils down to. I mean, I can show you. Let me show you my screen if I find out how to do it on a laptop because I've only got one screen rather than two like I usually do.
Imagine the shock on everyone's face though when they see the winner is Hincapié.
So I don't know how well you can see my screen, how well it currently translates. But looking at it, you can see, the percentage of votes that someone has. So in this case, Adeyemi has 0.1% of the votes. Now, if we scroll further down, as I said, Kamavinga has 16.8% currently, roughly 100,000 votes. And then you scroll further down, and you have a look at even Jeremy Doku. I mean, he's had an awful season. So I understand him having 73, but like he's a massive talent that just has awful moments. Ekitia, who just moved to PSG, I find that interesting. But then we go further down. You've got Gavi here of Barcelona with 4.7% of the votes. Ansu Fati with 0. Wasn't he injured the entire season?
Yeah.
So how is he at 0.1? Pity votes. That's what it is. And then you've got Gravenberg with 0.1% of the votes.
Better than Pedri.
Gvardiol with 0.2. And then we get to the big one, Hincapié with 55.9.
All the South Americans are voting, I think.
Basically, that's what it feels like. And then we scroll further down. We'll scroll further down to our boy Musiala. I mean, our boy Gravenberg was up there as well. But we'll scroll further down to if I can find him.
Is your boy Mukoko?
Yeah, Mukoko, 110 votes. We all know who those 110
he-
people are.
And he's done well recently, no?
He
For
has,
Dortmund.
yes. Yeah, how, starts a few games and suddenly does well. Who would have thought? And then obviously you go down, and here you've got Musiala.
For the sanctity of football, Hincapié can't win.
And then you scroll even further down, and guess who's there as well?
All 55 of those votes came from certain someone.
Certain someone. We won't speak about who, but yeah, Nianzou. Let's see who else is there. Nuno
Tavares only got
Mendes.
0.1%. He's washed.
Who?
Tavares.
Oh, and then you've got Pedri at 1.1.
He's back in.
Yep.
I thought you can't be in twice.
I don't know. As I said, I don't follow it too much. How is, you know what? I'm not even going to question this. How is, now, you know, I will question this. How is Wrench in here? He wasn't even a starter for Ajax last season. He literally only started because once we bought Mazraoui. How is he currently? He only started this season. Really.
Do you know what I think they do to get the names? They Google best young players to sign FIFA.
Football Manager style.
Yeah.
Now, there's one big name that's, of course, missing on this list, as far as I can see. You got Sesko in here. Sesko didn't do it. How is? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna click off this because how is Sesko in here with 0.6% of the votes when he wasn't even a start, when he didn't even play last season? But then he was linked to United, and suddenly now he's here at 0.6%. Sukic, understandable. Who else? Sorry, we're kind of getting sidetracked. Malik Tillman, who used to be formerly of Bayern, currently with Rangers, doing really, really well at Rangers, I must say. I really like what he's doing for them at the moment. Van der Voort, who's probably the best up-and-coming young goalkeeper, honestly. Unfortunately, he's signed with Leipzig. He signed with Leipzig, but he's got still 2 years at Genk, which is a very interesting deal to buy a keeper. You know, it's like 20 years old, and essentially the other side still keeps him for like 2 years, and then you actually moves to your club. I find that a very interesting deal. But Leipzig, they've signed one of the best young goalkeeper in the world. I think Slonina is probably second best. And then at the bottom, you've got Nikola Zalewski.
Who the hell is that with 8.3%?
Look, all right. I don't know because I don't watch the Italian league, but like I'm just like, huh? Excuse me? Excuse me, what? Makes no sense. And Dynamo Kiev, 1.5. Has he got more than Musiala? I think he does.
Yeah.
My goodness, eh? My goodness. Anyway, with that said, that's your golden boy. If you wanna vote, you know, you can do so. Not telling you to do so, but it is what it is. Now we've talked enough about Musiala. Let's talk about another player that has been really, really good recently. And funnily enough, a lot of people have criticized at the same time. And yet he's performing every week because he's undroppable, not to me, but to Nagelsmann. And that is Thomas Müller. How do we think he's been performing? How do we think that he's been doing? Did you expect him to perform like this? You know, a lot of people I know on social media have been very hot and cold on Thomas Müller, and then he performs this season, and suddenly they're like, "Oh, you know what? We've never criticized him. I wasn't criticizing him. That was my twin."
Yeah, and people who genuinely criticize Müller, the only reason they do that is because they felt he held Musiala back, which I kind of understand, but that excuse is it doesn't count anymore because he's not holding him back, he's complimenting him, or they're complimenting one another. And to me, he's also, I'm sorry, undroppable. We've seen it for the last past 2 years, how he is the. It sounds a bit weird when you always have to repeat that, but he is the communicative leader, especially in the attack. Our attack does not function as well without Müller. It obviously always depends on the system setup, but Müller is just so crucial for the entire team, especially the attack. And when you say he could be droppable, I can't think of any name that currently starts ahead of him apart from Musiala, which again they're not on the same position anymore. And perhaps Mane, and Mane has had like what 3 games for us, and as I think Daniel mentioned, ran into the offside quite often, and that didn't have the best of it. Like he was very very good, but not on the same level as Müller this season. And I know the season is still very very young, but I mean I don't get it. Who's going to start ahead of Müller this season? Coman? No. Although he's very 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 good, he's not starting ahead of Müller. I'm not even taking into consideration that they're on the same position. I'm just saying which of the attacking players in our club starts ahead of Thomas Müller currently, apart from Musiala. No one. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with what you said because Thomas Muller is Mr. Bayern. He's the face of Bayern, and if you drop him, you will lose. Like you won't win. If you don't play him in a big game when he's fit, you will 100% lose the tie. So, because he's just that important to our attack. He's vocal, like you said, Tausif. He's telling everyone where to go. He defends well, tracks back. He leads our press. He really does everything for us all over the pitch. You can't drop him at all. Like he's the one you will play every game for sure out of everyone. He's the face of our club. So there's no point of even discussing of who comes in for him if you want to drop him because the people who say he's a bad player or plays bad, they have zero ball knowledge. They've kicked a ball once in their lifetime and they think they know something about the sport.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't get a lot of the people hate on Thomas Muller. I think those are the people that watch like the YouTube comms. However, I wouldn't add like my top 3 was the undroppable players, just because the only thing I'd say Thomas Muller because of as season goes along, his age, also Coman and Sane, depending on how they play as well. At the moment, I don't see the team being changed. At the moment, he's fine with the team. I don't think Nagelsmann will change, but I don't know if he's like undroppable. I don't know where you guys put. I don't know which like would you say number 4, number 5 undroppable player, but for me, he won't be on my list top 3, 4.
Now, for me, he is not on my list of undroppable players, but he clearly is to Nagelsmann. So that's kind of what I hinted towards. That Nagelsmann clearly sees him as undroppable because even when Müller was in a bad form, he still played every single game. So, but for me,
Yeah,
there's only 4 players at Bayern that are undroppable currently on current form. That's Neuer, Upamecano, Kimmich, and Musiala. Those are the 4.
Yeah,
And
and
if
Wait,
you're go on, Manny.
Last time, didn't you say you drop Neuer?
Yeah,
If
but
I remember correctly.
I
You
also said if
fraud.
you're no, no, I also said if you remember that we don't have anyone because I don't consider I'm sorry, but I don't consider Ulreich a capable goalkeeper. So if we had anyone in like the second, if we had like any second goalkeeper worth their salt, Neuer would be dropped right now. But we don't. That's why he's undroppable. Not because of his form, but just because we actually don't have anyone. Like you could put me in there and then you could drop him. You could be in as a goalkeeper option, and then he could be dropped. But the worst part is, even now, I'm better than Ulreich. Even now, everyone that's watching this video is unfortunately better than Ulreich. And that's
No,
that. I'm sorry, that's just facts.
no. The one.
It's
No, I don't know. My ball distribution isn't as good as in my prime, so
I
maybe
don't
not
think
me.
Ulreich is that bad. Like the season Neuer was out the whole year. Like Ulreich was pretty decent. Like people hold the Real Madrid game against him. It was a shit pass by Tolisso too. So I don't know. He's not that bad.
yeah. Just to add, because I only say that because of the position, like where Muller plays, because we have so many players that are really good as well, fighting for that position. So, because with Coman, Sane, Gnabry, and all these players, so yeah. But I rate Muller.
no, absolutely. Same here. I mean, him and Musiala have been absolutely terrorizing the half spaces against every opponent that we played against. But if you actually want to talk about the players that have been up front for Bayern, we've obviously got two. And there's one that we're going to talk about. We're going to start talking about, and that's who do we start? I think the shortest one is Gnabry, just because he wasn't 100% fully fit in that game, according to Nagelsmann. But just very quickly, what do you all think about Gnabry's performance in that game? I think it looked a little bit sluggish, personally.
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of both him and Mane actually in that game. Um, yeah, there's nothing more I can say on that issue. I mean, he's got his like bandage, which reminds me of his game against Tottenham. So maybe he'll perform similarly. Who knows?
Yeah. With this game, I didn't even see much of him. Looking at the sofa score, he was the lowest rated player. No, actually, it wasn't him. It was Mane, but he was, I think, second lowest rated. But I didn't remember much from him in this game.
Yeah, he was pretty. You can tell he wasn't fit, and the link up wasn't good with Mane that game. Mane was offsides a lot, so they didn't have their best game. But you can have an off day at times as long as they go back to how they were playing the games before. It's no big deal. Like you can tell he wasn't fit. Mane, he's gonna stay on the offside. He's gonna play for offsides. He'll get it or he won't. So
All right. Next up, Mane. Let's talk about Mane. I mean, we already talked about him a little bit. Like everyone here has kind of sort of talked about Mane a little bit. But the reason I wanted to bring him up is because, well, a few things. One is this one here earlier about Mane being offside, so on and so forth, because of the way that he plays. And I agree with that. As I said earlier as well, he is someone that plays on the fringes, like on the verge of being offside. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Now, 3 games into his Bayern career, it's one game would have just been like an off game, perhaps not enough to judge. 2 games, not enough to judge, but 3 games, I think that's plenty of time to judge. Maybe not judge harshly, but it's plenty of time to like get a good picture of how a player has integrated into the squad. What are your thoughts, not just on like this game, but also so far as time at Bayern? What are your thoughts on him at Bayern so far in these 3 games that we've had?
I've really liked him. I think he brings a lot of energy to the team. I think he brings something different. With him playing up top versus like a Lewandowski, we're much more fluid in attack. He's a bit frustrating with the offsides, but I think it's something we can afford to take because of the amount of chances we create in this team. Because he was offsides like 2 or 3 times, but we still end up winning 2-0. So I think overall, it's a big benefit to Bayern, the energy he brings, everything he can do on the pitch. So I think it's going to be a good signing. Last game was a bit disappointing, but I think we will see how valuable he is throughout the season.
You know what I would hate if because Mane keep going offside the big games in the Champions League where everyone is nervous if he gets a few offside goals. But so I think at the beginning of the season he only played like a few games. He needs more time, as Nagelsmann said. So I feel I'm confident with Mane. Plus the position he played, you know, the national team. I don't know if he plays up front. I think does he play the winger up front? I feel like he plays different positions for the national team, and so I don't know if that helps him or he's not pure in that position, so he needs some time, I would say.
Okay, fair enough. The reason I brought this up is obviously because a lot of people here said that last game was his worst performance so far at Bayern, and I find that kind of funny because in the two previous performances he got a goal. So in the one game that he doesn't get a goal, to call it his worst performance, I guess that's understandable. But even like in terms of performance, I probably agree with you all. Now, interesting. What I find interesting at least is some of the substitutions that came in because. Well, with Gnabry potentially not playing in the next game, and with Musiala potentially not playing in the next game, and this is not my transition to a Bochum preview just yet, but with those two players maybe not playing, I mean Musiala definitely not playing, Gnabry maybe not playing, there is obviously a question of who's going to come in. Is it going to be Sané? And the reason I bring up this question is because so far, Sane hasn't been the happiest of chaps at Bayern so far, I feel like, this season. So, yeah, to me, it's just a question of, do you think Sane will start, or do you think that perhaps Tell, and I know he's a wild card, but Tell or Gravenbeck, do you think that there's a chance that either of those two are going to play? And the reason I bring up those two is because Tell, he wasn't available for the Super Cup, but in the two games that he was available in, he did come on.
I think he's going to let Sane start because Sane is someone who is lets his lets my feeling, lets his emotions affect his performance. And he's also one of those players who knows technically I'm one of the best players in the squad talent wise and ability wise, and keeping him on the bench when there's injuries in the first team is something I think Nagelsmann won't do. And whenever he's come on this season so far, even against Wolfsburg, I think against Wolfsburg he was perfectly fine. So yeah, I think he just starts Sane, and I sure hope he brings in Tell earlier than he did against Wolfsburg, because whenever Tell has come in, the game was basically already wrapped up, and the attack wasn't as trying as much anymore. And I'd like to see him from the beginning, but that might be a bit too early. But at least a bit earlier into the game so he can actually play in an attack which is still trying. Sounds very harsh, but I mean that was the case so far. As for Coman, I think Coman just I don't know if he's available already, but I think he should be. Yeah, he wasn't injured. He was just not eligible to play due to was it a red card?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
suspended.
So yeah, maybe both. I think he'll start both Coman and Sane if and gonna take out Nabri and Musiala, because if there's one thing that's completely unnecessary at this stage of the season, it's risking further injury with players who. I mean, the thing about Nabri is he's only injured his hand, as far as I know. So that doesn't really apply, but especially for Musiala, who has adductor problems. Even if he's technically fit, just let him rest for another game. So yeah, I'd love to see both Sane and Coman come in, which on the other hand would probably make Nagelsmann opt for another system. Maybe not the 4-2-2-2, maybe a return of the 4-2-3-1. Who knows?
Yeah, I think he'll start Sane and Coman. I think he'll keep the same 4-2-2 formation. I think it's going to be a big game for Sane because, in my opinion, I don't think he was that good against Wolfsburg. He wasn't that lively. He had one good shot in the 45 minutes he was on, and then in the 5 minutes of added time, that's when he looked the most lively. But he was kind of like, I don't want to say passenger because he wasn't that bad, but he just wasn't. He didn't feel in the game for the when he got subbed on. I thought Tell looked a lot more lively when he came on the pitch, but I don't think you can start him. I think you have to start Leroy Sané, but I think it's a big game for him. I think he has to play well now for the chance he gets to start to really tell Nagelsmann that, hey, I am here. I'm going to perform. I'm going to do everything I can for this team. So I think this is going to be a big game for Sané where he has to perform to compete with the squad and all the other players in his position.
Would any of you start Gravenberg then instead of Musiala? And maybe Sané instead of Gnabry?
I wouldn't play Gravenberg. I mean, because he's played him out wide for the times he's come on. I wouldn't do that. I don't think he's going to change as much as we would like. I think it's just going to be Sané and come on for Musiala and Gnabry. I think Sabitzer and Kimmich's going to start the midfield. But I would like to see Gravenberg and Matisse Tell get a lot more game time than what we've seen from the last few games.
I mean, yeah, but to be fair, if there is a game where you can bring on a few more talent, it is against Bochum, and I'm saying that knowing fully well that we lost 4-1 last year, or was that Bielefeld? That was Bielefeld, right? Not
Yeah.
Bochum. Oh yeah, okay, so it should be fine. If there's a game where you can bring them on, it's this game, and by them I obviously mean Gravenberg and Pell. But yeah, we'll see what he'll do.
All right. That might be a nice transition to the Bochum game. I did say it wasn't going to be the transition, but it is the transition to the Bochum game. Yeah, so we're playing on Sunday. I don't know if you lot are fans of Sunday games. Me and Mido were talking about this earlier on, like before anyone else joined. Neither of us are fans of the Sunday games. I typically I like Friday and Saturday games.
Yeah.
Just because Friday I feel like, okay, it's the start to the weekend. I can watch Bayern. I can see our game in peace. And then on Saturday I can watch every other game that I want. And it kind of feels the same with Sunday games as well.
There's no better feeling than having won a Friday game and then having the entire weekend and watching multiple leagues, multiple matches. I'm like that as well, but I also like the Saturday 3:30 slot because it's the traditional Bundesliga time. And yeah, Sunday, yeah, especially the last game. It's not the best. Are we the last game this time? Because we were the last game on last week against Wolfsburg.
So we play at 4:30 UK time, so 5:30 Germany.
Okay, so we are the last once again. But I do like Sunday games because on Sundays I can go to games when they're at home. But this one's away, so that doesn't do any good for me. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Sunday games as well. But there's one thing worse than Sunday games. It's Monday games.
Fair point. Yeah, Bochum. Let's talk about their form a little bit. They lost 2-1 against Mainz in the season opener, and then they lost 3-2 to Hoffenheim. So they've yet to have a single point on the board. But interestingly enough, they've scored 3 goals. They've scored in every game that they've played in. Yes, it's only been 2 games for them, but they scored against Mainz once, and they scored against Hoffenheim twice.
Mm-hmm.
Should we be wary? First question, I guess. Should we be wary? Should we, because they're clearly a team that likes to score. Should we be cautious? Should we be, wary? Should we look out for, they are attacking side, but they do concede a lot of goals. I mean, they conceded 5 goals in 2 games. but should we be afraid? Not afraid, it's too strong of a word, I guess, but
Cautious.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'd say hell no, but in the recent years, it feels like those kind of games, like Bielefeld away last year, where you're not seeing it coming,
I saw it coming.
and the Hoffenheim away that ended our unbeaten streak. And the players did seem I don't want to say tired, but a bit heavier in their movements towards the end of the Wolfsburg game. Still very very solid, especially in the back line, but still going forward. So I can see this being a game where like no one expects them to even get a point, but somehow they actually manage a crazy scoreline, and there's all of a sudden a crisis in Munich, despite us being one of the world's best teams just a week prior. So I could definitely see this being one of those games, but I'm guessing no. I'm guessing no. Maybe they score a goal and it'll be a 3-1 where we're not very satisfied with or really satisfied with the amount of goals we've scored, and also we're very very annoyed with the defense, and the rest of the league is annoyed that we still won the game 3-1. And Michael Cox will probably write another article why the Bundesliga is so boring. But yeah, a 3-1 I think it'll be.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on how quick we score and how many we score in a short time in the beginning. Because I think if we do that, they're gonna have to shut up shop early because they're gonna be in a relegation fight the whole season. I think so. Goal difference is gonna be a big thing for them. So I think if we can hurt them early on a lot, it'll be kind of a breeze later on. Um, if we kind of have a rough start like we kind of did last game against Wolfsburg, I wouldn't be surprised if they nick a goal. But I think it should be a comfortable win. I think it's a good time to rotate too, because these rotation players can kind of show Nagelsmann why they deserve to have more minutes. So I think overall it'll be a comfortable win. I don't see them causing that much of an issue, but this is also Bayern, the same team that got like knocked out to like a fourth tier team in the cup. So we'll see. It should be more of a breeze, but I don't want to underestimate them too much.
You kind of brought up the point, but I'm gonna mention it now as well, because it's a great transition to my next question that I was gonna ask, and that is rotation. How do you rotate? Would you rotate, or would you just play the same 11 that you can, just so that they can, keep the momentum going? What's your approach with this game if you were Nagelsmann?
I mean, I've seen it on Twitter and it's annoyed me a lot in recent weeks. It's the second game, the third game of the season. People are like, "Oh, why is play X, Y, Z not playing?" Because the first few weeks and first few matches in any season, you're trying to establish a team that works. So I'll have no problems if Nagelsmann says no rotation for the next 3 weeks. But given that it's just Bochum and that we already have two players in questionable condition, I'd say this is the a good moment to rotate at least a bit. Because I've looked ahead into the future fixtures. We've got, I think, Freiburg coming up, Gladbach coming up, which will be very, very important. We'll have in like a 2 months' time, we'll have a back-to-back, and we will have Leverkusen, we'll have Dortmund, we'll have Freiburg, not to mention the Champions League fixtures. So yeah, sure, you can let your substitute players play this one.
Yeah, I mean, what I would do is I think Upamecano is injured, right? He's not going to play, so I think with that, I think Pablo's going to shift to center back, and then I think you can bring Mazraoui in for this game. I would keep the same midfield pair of Kimmich Sabitzer just because I want them to keep building on their
Yeah.
chemistry. Gravenberg can come on at like 45 if we kill the game early on, and I think Sané and Coman can be the ones to take the spots of Musiala and Gnabry who are injured. But other than that, I wouldn't rotate. I'd just keep it as is for now. Kill off the game early, and when you do that, bring on Matisse Tell, bring on Gravenberg and everyone else.
So while you were talking, quote unquote breaking news. I don't know if you want to call it breaking news, I guess, but according to Tietzet, Matthias de Ligt will make his debut on Sunday in Bayern starting 11 against Bochum.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
So
he got
that's
the splint by then, right, or whatever it was.
sorry, say that again.
Because they said if he got the splint in his hand, he would play. So I'm guessing he got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seems like it. But yeah, so that's a development that just happened while we were speaking. That the news came out that the league, according to the report, will start. So if that's something that you're interested in, now you know who are starting to. Now, of course, it doesn't tell us who's going to start next to, but it is what it is. Another question I have then is a player that has been forgotten. Honestly, has been forgotten by most people because everyone wants to talk about, Mazraoui. Everyone wants to talk about De Ligt. Everyone wants to talk about Gravenberg. Everyone wants to talk about Tell. Here's a player that no one's talking about. Stanisic. Should he start?
I wouldn't start him, but I think, like I said, if you kill off the game early, I think you can bring him on for the right back spot or even the left back spot. I think he'll play a big role in the season because Nagelsmann's a fan, and I think we're short on the left side for fullbacks, but I wouldn't start him for the game. I just think you have to kill it off, and when you do that, bring these guys on.
I mean, yeah, I basically share the same sentiment. I mean, if he starts, I'm like, okay, cool. I like it. I hope he does well. Let's show what he's got. If he doesn't start, I'm not gonna break down crying in front of my telly. And just like Daniel said, this is probably one of the most stressful seasons when it comes to like physical stress because of the World Cup, because of the congested schedule, because of because we've essentially got, as always, we're as we say in Germany, dancing on three weddings, competing in three competitions, and we also have the World Cup. And the reason that he can play in two positions, like he can play left or right, back, I think that's a reason as to why he'll be used very, very often this season. And I'm not too worried about him not getting any playing time because I don't know why I feel like Davies will pick up not a major injury but a slight injury, and then we're just one injury away from him having a starting spot essentially. So yeah, he'll get his chances, but maybe that's a bit too early.
Okay. I'm going to ask some more directed, targeted questions then, just to see what everyone's thinking about. Gravenberg. Should he start?
Honestly, just as Daniel said, I'd prefer if our midfield duo of Sabitzer and Sabimich, were to get a bit more time and like truly get a feeling for one another and get into the groove. But if Nagelsmann decides to bring Gravenberg for the next game, I mean, come on, it's just Bochum. Not to be disrespectful, but sure, why not? It's not a game where we like desperately need a defensive midfielder. It's fine to have Gravenberg in there.
Yeah, I agree with Tassif and what he said.
Okay. We talked about him a little bit already, but Mazraoui, should he start?
I would very much like to see that, yes, because Pavard has been a mixed bag so far. I mean, he either is really, really good in certain departments of his game, or he's really, really questionable in
Wait a
other
second.
aspects.
Did you
Yeah.
just say Pava has been a mixed bag?
Yeah.
Based on every stat website, like SofaScore.
I don't care. I've seen it myself. Yeah, I've seen it too. It was like team of the week for the top 5 leagues. I was like, what? The thing is, because Mamouche and Wolfsburg, they were kind of toothless in the game. they couldn't really capitalize on it. But any other, I swear to you, any good, decent European side, even Dortmund and Leipzig, and even Frankfurt maybe would have capitalized on his mistakes, and that would have been a 3 out of 10 performance by him. But yeah, but I'm just not saying he's terrible. But I would like to see Mazraoui get some like 19 minutes here and there, so that we can see how he would fit into that 4-2-2-2 system. And I would rotate out Pavard, bring in Mazraoui, and rotate out Upamecano because of his apparent injury, or yeah, slight injury, and have a backline essentially of Davies, Delict, who else? Is it Hernandez? Hernandez, yeah, and Mazraoui.
Yeah, I think I don't really care who starts, to be honest, between Pavard and Mazari, because I think the other will just get subbed on and get a lot of game time anyways. I don't think it's too big of an issue. I'd like to see Mazari start, but if he doesn't, I don't care too much. He'll get a lot of games because of the World Cup, like Tasso said. It's going to be a busy schedule. And Nagelsmann said he wants to integrate all the new players when they're 100% ready. So we'll see if they are based on how the lineup is on Sunday.
Okay. Next up, again, we talked about him already, but just making sure that we go through all of our newcomers. Tell. Would you start?
I really like. You can also see it against Frankfurt, but also against Wolfsburg, that his technical ability is very, very good. Like for a 17-year-old who hasn't played a game for his former club in Ligue 1, which is, with all due respect, because I've never been a fan of the label top 5 leagues, because to me it's just top 4 leagues, and then you've got France, Netherlands, and Portugal behind that. But yeah, he's not in the top 4 leagues. He hasn't even played, or he hadn't even played before that, and then to come in to essentially one of the best clubs in the world and not stick out for your lack of quality, like his first touch, his technique when he passes, his whenever he starts a dribbling, it's not been something where I say, "Oof, next Mbappe, I'm blown away, fantastic business," but it's I don't even want to say promising start, but it's I have high hopes for him, definitely. He's shown me nothing where I have to where I have to get nervous. As I've mentioned before, I'd like to see him when he does play at least 45 minutes or maybe even 90 minutes when the attack is truly trying to desperately, but trying to get goals, which wasn't the case when he came on against Frankfurt because the game was already done, and wasn't the case against Wolfsburg when in the second half we were just driving in second gear, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see him start. I don't think he will because whenever he's come on, he looks really lively. Like he does look dangerous if you play him for a lot of time. He can dribble well. His passing seems pretty decent. He gets in decent spots apart from the first game. But I hope he gets around 45 minutes. I just think it's going to depend on how many goals we score in the first half. But I think he has a lot of potential from the few minutes we have seen. So I also do really like the wristband he wears on his hand. It reminds me of Benzema a bit. I don't know. I just love that for whatever reason. So I'm hoping he can get a goal. This is the game he gets his first goal, but we'll see.
Yes, the thing is, sorry, but
No,
the thing is, I didn't expect him to start, but to get as many minutes as he did so early on. I thought we weren't going to see him for the next, for the first month of him being here, because we've seen with in the past with a few players, some players just don't start out with the level of quality that we need to even play a few minutes for us. but he immediately got a few minutes, like twice. Like we've played 2 games where he was technically available to play, and he played in both of them, which just shows you kid has got quality, and yeah, maybe I'm just surprised of how many minutes he's gotten so far.
Okay. What I was gonna say is something that will make me seem like the racist that I am, but I enjoy
Go
it.
on then. Clip it, YouTube, clip it.
It really nothing that serious, but it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, Daniel, about the wristband that he wears. As someone like me who watches the football on, let's just say, questionable sites, just so I can get it in HD and everything. But oftentimes it's not in HD. As someone that watches the questionable sites, whenever he comes on, I'm just like, okay, there is Mane. I think that's this pixel. There is Gnabry.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's that pixel. Which one is Tell? It's the one with the wristband. So I like that part because all of our attack, they've got a certain complexion. So it makes it difficult if you're watching on a 360p stream. No, that's all I wanted to say.
I know, I just wanted to Benzema so much the wristband, and Benzema's my favorite striker, so I hope he keeps the wristband forever.
It's a style thing. When I was playing football, I don't know what it is, and I still to this day actually, whenever I play football, because I still play football, not every weekend, but like most weekends, most Saturdays. I don't know what it is, but when I'm wearing like a short sleeve with gloves, I play like 150% better than usual.
Yeah. It's the Thierry Henry effect, where he's got the gloves. It's like there's certain strikers, you know, they're cold just based on what they wear. If they got the gloves on, or if they got the wristband on, anything like that, they're cold.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. There has to be like a scientific study that has to be done on that. But like when I don't have like short sleeve and gloves on, I'm awful. I play short sleeve and gloves, and I'm the best player in the world. It's like, how does that make sense? There needs to be a study that is done on that. Especially as a midfielder, because you just feel like, yeah, I look so cool. I'm gonna play these extra cool passes, and it actually works at that time. It makes no sense, but it is what it is. Our fourth newcomer then, Mane. He's played the last 3 games, started the last 3 games. Would you start him in this game as well? Question mark.
Yeah, I would start him. I don't think you can rotate all that much just because it's still a new season. I think Nagelsmann's gonna make sure with the new formation that we can tie it down, that Mane's like the focal point of our attack. So I think for that reason he's gonna have him start again, as I would too, and then have the newcomers. Well, I say newcomers, but like I mean, Coman and Sane kind of be the ones to learn how to play with Sadio Mane, who's going to be the focal point for our attack.
Okay. Interesting. Because I kind of get what you're saying, but I'm also thinking, why not unleash Mane on tired legs?
Yeah, that's a fair point, but I feel like you can do that with Matisse Tell too, because that kid is rapid too, and he's skillful. He's got everything to his game, so I think we do have pace off the bench if you want to have their players work extra hard when they're tired. So I think we have. I think that's the one thing I really like about our attack is like we have a lot of competition we can just bring off on the bench that can just really run riot as the legs get tired.
Okay. And obviously, we haven't spoken about him yet because he was not playing due to his red card. Coman, would you start him or would he be on the bench for you?
Yeah, I think he has to start just because he's a very, I don't know, he's good when he plays. He doesn't really get the goals and assist output I would like to see from him, but he does play well. He does add a lot to the team. He can help break down the defense. So I think I would bring him on. I think he can offer a lot, especially with I think they're gonna sit back deep, try to get us on the counter. So I think Coman can drag the defenders out wide, take on 2, and cross it in hopefully, and just kind of like break their defense apart for all the other players.
Okay. Tausif seems to have left.
Yeah.
Which gives me the opportunity to ask you more direct questions to see what you're thinking about this game, what you're feeling about this game, how you think we'll set up for this game. Because there's one interesting thing that you mentioned. Actually, you know what? No, we'll save that until later. We'll save that until later because we're going to talk about this a little bit later. So in general, then, would you make any like big rotations, like any big substitutions in this game? Like, would you try maybe something riskier, maybe change the formation, or would you just keep it the same as always?
I'd go for 2-2 just because I want them to really solidify it down because I think that's what we got. It's looked good, so I just want to keep it for the rest of the season.
Yep.
The only thing that like I would do that's maybe iffy is that if Sané's not having that good of a game, I would take him off at halftime for Tell. Just because, based on the Wolfsburg game, I don't think Sané was that lively apart from the 5 minutes of added time and like that one shot he had in the regular time. If he's not doing all that much, I would bring on Tell, who looked way more lively than Sané did. So that's what I would do. But other than that, probably not. Maybe I would probably sub off Kimmich too if we kill the game off early for Gravenberch, just so Kimmich can like rest a little bit. But
that's a funny one.
Yeah.
Kimmich is undroppable in Nagelsmann's eyes. Like Kimmich could have, like even when he came back from like his whole COVID thing, first game back 90 minutes. Played 90 minutes ever since.
Yeah,
Kimmich
I'm just scared he gets an injury, so I would take him off maybe if we kill the game early, but
he's never getting dropped. I think that one, expecting Kimmich to get dropped is like expecting Müller or Neuer to get dropped. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, it won't happen, but I'm always scared he gets an injury because if that happens, our midfield is really light. So, but
worse still, if he gets an injury and it's a serious one, and this goes to any player, honestly. If they get a serious injury, their World Cup is over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah, because I just don't think it's worth like getting worth an injury against the team we're playing, like Bochum. I don't think it's worth like risking an injury for like that level of a side, with respect to them. But it won't happen. But I think Gravenberch will just come on for Sabitzer and regulars in somewhere in the second half.
Okay. Coolio. Next up, score predictions. How do you think the game will go score-wise? And also, what do you think our substitutions will be? Like, let's say you've got a maximum of 5. Yeah. Obviously, Nagelsmann doesn't always use the 5, but let's say you've got a maximum of 5. Which 5 would you substitute, and what do you think a score will be like at the end of the game?
Yeah, I do think they'll score just because we switch up our defense. I do think we'll score a lot though. I'm gonna go 4-1, and then I think they'll make a goal just because our defense. I think we're probably gonna rotate it. I think the Ligt starting his first game. I think Mazraoui probably gets a game, so I think they could probably nick a goal just because of the communication factor. But I do think we'll score a lot. It's just unfortunate Musiala's not playing because I would love for him to score again, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately. But I do think it'll be a 4-1 game. Substitutions, I think if Mazraoui starts, Power's going to come on, vice versa too. I think that's one sub that's going to happen for sure. Stanisic, I hope, comes on for Davies at some point. Matisse Tell for sure has to come on. Gravenberch for sure. I think those are the 4 minimum, but I don't think he'll do a full 5 because I don't see it happening. But I'll go 4-1, and those will be my subs.
Okay. Tausif is predicting a 4-1 as well. Mm-hmm. So I think it only makes sense that I'm going to have 4-0.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Just because I hope / I don't expect us to concede. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm being positive this season. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be realistic. I want to be positive. Mm-hmm. So screw realism, screw negativity. We're just being overly positive. Nothing can go wrong, ever. So that's why I'm saying 4-0, easy victory. Tell is going to get the second half, and he's going to score 3 goals. He's going to get his first hat-trick for the club in one half. There you go. That's my prediction for the game against Bochum.
If we're thinking like that, I'm going 10-0. Tell gets 10. He's one
Oh,
point away towards my goal objective for him.
there has to be a positivity in. Sorry, there has to be a realism in the positivity.
Yeah.
So you're still sticking with him scoring 10 goals then?
I hope if he can do it all in one game, he'll hit Nagelsmann's milestone in one game, and he hits 1/4 of my milestone within one game. So it's either going to be 10-0 or 4-1.
Fair enough. And Milan Gasic says that he hopes for a 5-0. I think, honestly, all our predictions sound very possible and realizable. Just because we have been in a mood where we score a lot of goals away from home, and our defense. I mean, we'll see how we'll do against Bochum, who have scored in every game that they've played this season. So we'll see how that obviously pans out. But so like any prediction that you make is realistic, to be fair, as long as it's not outlandish. But yeah, we'll see. Now, what else we'll have to see is a more so discussion on the Bundesliga itself. I don't know how familiar you are with the article. This was something that Tausif is very, very passionate about, so it's kind of unfortunate that he had to go. But this was something that he is very, very passionate about, and that is the discussion about the Bundesliga. And more specifically, it's a discussion that Bayern should start a goal behind in every game to make the league competitive, as an article of The Athletic describes. Now, fair enough, I was speaking about this today, well, barely speaking about this today on BBC Radio 5, and I was talking to the author a little bit in regards to his article, and the point that was made really is, does competitiveness matter as a Bayern fan? Does it matter to you that we're steamrolling the league, that we're about, that we'll probably win the Bundesliga for the next 10 years straight? First question, I guess. Does it matter to you? Does it, do you care that we're constantly winning?
Yeah. I'm going to say that article I've heard, I'm going to say two things. That article is pure gas. It's a load of shit. But the second thing I'll say before I get into that is Nianzou's having a good game, by the way. I'm keeping it in the background.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wish. See, hardcore Bundesliga fans are gonna hate me. I wish it was like the Premier League in terms of like the amount of money in the league. Where like I don't want to see like a Man City winning it every type of year, but like just like competition. I just want to see like Dortmund being able to actually put a challenge in for like a whole season. A Leipzig being able to put a challenge in for the whole season. The bottom half of the Bundesliga being able to buy decent players and like not being as much of a cakewalk, because we're all saying like 5-0, 4-1. It'd be cool if it was like a bit closer, like a 2-1 or 1-0. So I do wish it'd be more competitive, just because it'd be more fun to watch. There's more adrenaline. You feel like you're losing something if you don't win, because if we lose a game, we're gonna think whatever, we'll win the next 7 or 8. It doesn't matter. So I do wish there was more of a risk. I'm not gonna like die on the hill of like my life's over if that doesn't happen, because I watch the sport for entertainment. As long as Bayern's playing well, I'm gonna enjoy myself too. So it'd just be nice to have in general, but I'm not gonna cry about it, because at the end of the day, those are not my teams. What they do is their own prerogative. If Dortmund and Leipzig want to be complete shitters and bottlers, that's on them. I don't give a fuck.
Okay. You mentioned more money coming in. Would you say, or would you make the argument then that the other teams, maybe they have the money, but they're not spending it aggressively enough? Is that a thing? Spending money irresponsibly enough?
Yeah. I think there's a way to invest reasonably. My biggest issue with Dortmund is that they buy players that they just know they'll sell. Like who's the new guy that scored for them on the weekend? Do you know his name?
Kittens?
Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure their CEO or whatever came out and said like they'll be able to sell him in a few years, because I think someone in Bayern criticized that, because it's like, you sign this player, and then when you say that, that player knows, hey, I'm going to perform well and I'm gone. So they don't really feel the DNA of your club. So I think
I said that.
Yeah. And I agree with that, because it's like, I get they're trying to make their money, but at the same time, it's like you're not really building on anything. You're just building to sell. buying to sell, not building to sell. But so I do think there's a way to do it. I think if they bought younger players who are willing to stay at Dortmund for a while, build a core of young players, because at the end of the day, we all know Bellingham's going to go. We all know that that player is going to go as well. And it's like when you get that money, like you did the Sancho money, you need to get players who are willing to stay, even if they're like a caliber less than Holland or Sancho or Bellingham. They need to be able to stay, identify with the club, so you can build on something. But they don't do that. Leipzig, they're really weird because it's like you would think they'd have the money, and they just like they don't really build on what they have because they have like some good players, and it's like they should be doing better with like their signings, and they just don't because Schlager's a decent player, but he'll never take you to that one level above. So it's like, and those are our two main challengers. So it's like I don't know. They definitely need to invest better, and they do have decent money, but I think a bigger cash flow would help teams like Leverkusen or like Hoffenheim or those clubs. And I think it would obviously help Dortmund and Leipzig, but I think they can be doing better with the resources they have.
Interesting, because you mentioned at the beginning, which I found kind of funny, you mentioned spending the money wisely. And I would have argued before you obviously continue making your point. I would have argued that Leipzig, they do spend their money wisely. They're just not spending it in aggressively enough. They're not trying to be first, whereas a lot of people obviously thought that they would be trying to be first when they first moved to the Bundesliga. But I think they're not trying to be number one. They're just trying to maintain that top 4 position, build a reputation for themselves, and maybe then try and become number 1. I don't know whether that's ever going to be the case. It's why I typically every year until this year, I said that Leipzig would be our real challenger. And this year was the first time I said, you know what, I've been wrong for too long. Dortmund are going to be second. And I still think that's fully the case. Now, to me, I don't really care about the competition. Again, it's very similar to what you said. I don't really care what the competition does. If I'm being completely honest, they can play their games. I do enjoy watching our competition a lot, but they can do whatever they're doing. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't bother me. It has no influence on me. What matters to me is that Bayern play well, and if that means that we'll win, a trophy for the next 50 years straight, I don't care. It's like asking Usain Bolt to run slower because the competition can't catch up to him. That's not his problem. That's their problem. And it's the same way I feel about Bayern. It's not our problem. I mean, it is our problem because it affects us in Europe, but it's not our problem in the sense of that it's our fault. It's theirs for not catching up to us.
Yeah, because I think that Usain Bolt analogy you made is really good too, because it's like, it's not like, because at the end of the day, right? Let's say you give like Usain Bolt like a second back, he'll still win at the race at the end of the day. That's just because he's so much better than them. If you put us a goal down, it makes no difference because we'll score 3, 4, 5. So it doesn't make a difference. To me, it's just a stupid, brain dead, dumb idea because it adds nothing to the conversation of competitiveness. Because Bayern's on a team that's going to rely on like a 1-0 win, like a Juventus. We're going to score 3, 4, 5. So I think if you actually want to have criticism in terms of the competition in the Bundesliga, you can talk about 50+1 or anything like that. But bring up this dumb, stupid, brain-dead idea of like go 1-0 down at the start of every game is just stupid to me. It's just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. Tausif was here for like a second and then he disappeared.
I saw that.
Which is funny. As I said, this topic is something that he is extremely passionate about. Whereas I personally, I'm just like, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. But with that said, welcome back, Tausif. What are your thoughts on obviously this whole Bayern should be 1-0 down because there's no competition in the Bundesliga, etc., etc. How do you feel about this?
I mean, if you look at it on a surface level, they're not wrong. I mean, we're the only league to have a champion for 10 consecutive seasons. But if you dig a bit deeper, it's... I mean, come on, even England, there's just a general trend, right? So just look at England. City have won 4 out of 5 now, Before that, 2 decades ago, I think Manchester United also won like I don't know, like 10 out of 15 or something, which is not as bad as in the Bundesliga, but it's still bad, right? But nobody in the Holy Premier League talks about how boring and repetitive it is, which is genuinely the case. And when it comes to, but I do see that there's a problem. In that I don't have a problem as long as within the season the title race is close. Then there's no problem. For instance, 2018-19, when it was down to the last day, the last match, that was a very good season for not for German football internationally, but for at least the domestic league. It was very exciting. Um, yeah, well, when it comes to solutions, Daniel mentioned 50+1. I don't think that's the correct solution because we've seen within the Bundesliga that investors do not always work out. Kühne with HSV, Ismaik with 60 Munich. It should be more that the Bundesliga, especially Bundesliga clubs, they need to invest more in the foreign market, which they haven't done at all, apart from Bayern.
You know, I do find it very fun that you are the only one here that lives in Germany, and you're the one that thinks very strongly about the 50+1 rule. Whereas you ask most fans that don't live in Germany, and they would immediately say that the 50+1 rule needs to be gotten rid of.
Yeah, but because that's just German fan culture, right? Because in a perfect world, 50+1 should be something that's enforced on a global level via FIFA, but that's never going to happen. And personally, if you said if the news now broke 50+1 is abolished, I'd say, you know what, interesting, why not? Let's have it. But in my perfect world, 50+1 should remain because it's now businesses competing. A club should not be owned. That's the thing that German fans always insist on. Like your club should not be owned by someone. I mean, sure, there's always an inherent hypocrisy with it because 49% of your club can be owned. But having the entire identity of the club just be changed because of one person is, even if they're well-meaning, even if they're even a fan, it just rubs us Germans the wrong way because we are still a very football romantic people here in Germany, and we are. I know for a fact that maybe not Bayern fans. Bayern fans are very open to 50+1, but the rest of Germany, they're appalled by, and myself included, what has happened to Newcastle, for instance. That's just disgusting in our eyes. And there are other ways. We've seen in Germany, as I've mentioned, with 1860 Munich, with Hamburg, investors are not like some magic silver bullet. It doesn't work all the time. It takes far more away from you than it gives you. Even in the Premier League, actually, every club has an owner, but there are more cases of it going wrong than it going well. But we just don't talk about them. So there are other avenues where you can expand, especially if you're a smaller club, not smaller club, but maybe say Dortmund. Dortmund has done nothing to strengthen their image in foreign markets like we have in China. They could, they absolutely have the potential, but they don't. Similar, same with Leipzig, same with Leverkusen. So I just think 50+1. If you want to change something about the league, is not 50+1. It might help, but you should explore other avenues before that.
Well, basically what you're saying is that 50+1 is not the way, but Bayern being a goal down is the way. I got it. Thank you very much.
Michael Cox is my personal hero.
But yeah, we'll save the 50+1 discussion for another time because that's a topic that me and me and Nagels 123 have talked about a lot of times away from the stream, like away from being live, because that's something that he feels very passionate about. He feels that should be abolished. So I think that might be, we'll save that for its own separate in-depth discussion with people on each side. But there is an issue though, and that is the issue of the Bundesliga. The competitiveness. Like, why should I, right? I'm probably a bad example because I was born in Munich. But why should I? Let's call myself Mr. Tom Dickens. Why should I care about the Bundesliga? Why should I care about the title race? I live here in England. Why should I care? What's there for me to watch? Okay, you've got Bellingham playing. Okay, he's the future of English football. But beyond that, why should I watch the Bundesliga? What's in there for me? Like, where is the excitement? Anyone? Where is the excitement?
Yeah.
Why should I care?
Yeah, I think that's a good point because it's like I think because like for me, right? I think it would be fun if there was some danger of like a team coming after us, or if we lose, there's the idea that we could lose the league. I think that would be fun, but I don't really care what the other clubs are doing on their own end. But I think if you're like an outsider looking in, you want there to be some sort of like high risk, high reward, lots of competition. You don't know what's going to happen every match day. You don't know who's going to be on top every season. Premier League fans, they're a bit shameless because, they'll say their league's hyper competitive, this and that, but Man City's going to dominate it for years to come. So, but it's just that like they have better class players throughout the league teams, and they have more competition, I guess, throughout the table. But I think that, like Tausef said, I think the Bundesliga needs to market itself better to get this money too. I don't think there's like one end all be all thing to make the Bundesliga more competitive. But I think from like the outside looking in, if you're not a Bayern fan, you're not a Bundesliga fan, you're not from Germany, you're gonna be more invested in sport or like league that has more competition to it, where there's multiple teams you could support. Like there's multiple teams to pick from where you could support, where you think to yourself, this team could win. I like this team, what they're doing. I'm gonna identify with them. The Bundesliga doesn't really have that anywhere else because I know in the U.S. it's mostly Bayern fans. I've only met one Dortmund fan, never seen a Leipzig fan. Apart from that, never seen a fan from any of those other teams. So it's like it's on their end too, like Tausif said, to market themselves better, and they don't. So yeah.
Yeah, also the appeal of the Bundesliga, which the Bundesliga itself hasn't marketed as well, is not compared to the Premier League now. I'm comparing it to the other leagues that often get compared with the Bundesliga, which is Ligue 1 and Serie A. Is that on an international level, when it comes to the international competitions, in the last years, ever since was it 18-19, the dreadful season of German clubs. Ever since then, we've been far better than those three. We've been the third best league in Europe, and because France only has PSG. They've got like they have other champions occasionally, like Monaco or what was it, Lille, but they don't perform on an international level. Dortmund often do, at least compared to them.
Sorry. So when has Dortmund performed on the international level?
I'm not saying perform. I'm saying performed compared to the Ligue 1 teams, other than PSG. I'm saying that Ligue 1 doesn't have a single club apart from PSG. There's often in the run of 16, often in the quarterfinals, and Dortmund at least does that, right? They're semi-regularly in the quarterfinals. They've almost ever in the run of 16, almost every time. They've been to the final, they've been to the semi-final, they've been to Leipzig has been to the semi-final. We even have a Frankfurt, the 11th placed in the Bundesliga, winning the a European Cup, which has never been done by any French club, which hasn't been done by by an Italian club since 1999. We've been far outperforming them, but the thing is that doesn't come across, and nobody would realize that because we have just done such a shitty job at marketing it.
I don't
I'm
even
so
think the Dortmund like Ligue 1 comparison works, to be honest. Sorry to cut you off there, Prince, but
Mhm.
like Leon recently, like they went to the semifinals before Dortmund, and
Yep.
even that Monaco too. Like they've had like over the past like 7-8 seasons, Monaco had a way better run than Dortmund ever did in any of those seasons. Like the only one standout moment for Dortmund was the Haaland long shot against PSG. Other than that, they've been dead. Like they go out in the group stages, they do fuck all in the round of 16, and they get knocked out. So I don't think that even like the Ligue 1 comparisons are fair because on average they do better.
Exactly. And that's literally what I was just about to bring up as well. That on average, Ligue 1, if we take away Bayern and PSG, Ligue 1 does better, with the exception of last season. But even last season, I mean, you mentioned that no Ligue 1 team makes it to the round of 16. Monaco did.
Yeah,
And
but that was once.
then you've got
While
Lyon
Dortmund,
that made it
Dortmund
to
has
the
been
semi.
in, but Dortmund has been to the has been past the knockout stage pretty much every year they've been in it. Pretty much every year, there've been one or two exceptions. While Monaco, they've been into the in the Champions League one season, or maybe they barely even make it at times into the Champions League. Well, you have Dortmund, which is a regular participant in the round of 16. You've got Leipzig, who's been fairly regularly playing decent or putting in decent performances. And I wouldn't say like you said, take up Bayern, take up PSG, Ligue 1 is on average better. That's not the case because we've in the the UEFA coefficient, we've been far better than France. We've been better than Syria as well. But the 2018-19 season is still still in consideration because like the past 5 years are counted. So that's why they're slightly above us. But once that one falls out, we will leave them in the dust, and we will be the third best league. And
Oh,
even if you took out Bayern and PSG, I think on average, Bundesliga is still better.
okay, I'll list off a few things. Dortmund here in the Champions League, 2021, 2022 went out in the group stage. 2020, 2021 quarterfinals, not bad. 2019, 2020 round of 16. 2019, 2020, 2019, 2018 round of 16. 17, 18 group stage. 16, 17 quarters. Okay, but that's now nearly 7 years ago. Round of 16 for 2014, 2015, 2013, 2014 quarterfinals, and obviously 2012, 2013 final. So since the 2013 final, they've not made it to a semi-final once. They've went out in the group stage 2 times. They went out in the round of 16 3 times, and they made it to the quarters 3 times. I wouldn't call
Now
that.
do the same for Monaco or
No,
and
but
Lille.
I have a counter to that though, right? Because you brought up the UEFA coefficients. Most football fans will not give a single fuck.
I know. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Like they'll remember moments. That Monaco moment, that season in the Champions League, is bigger than anything Dortmund has ever done since that final.
No.
Yeah,
Okay, since that final. Okay, sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
bigger than anything they've ever done. Leon going to that semifinal, bigger than anything Dortmund have ever done since that final. People are gonna remember the moments. The coefficient, they don't give a fuck about that. They'll look at those moments and think to themselves, "Hey, look, Monaco and Leon, they did better than anything Dortmund have ever done." And then for that reason, they'll put the Liga clubs ahead of Dortmund in Germany. So
Now,
I think
the counter to that is Leipzig.
Yeah,
Because Leipzig,
that was what I was about to say because they've been in the semi-final the same season as Lyon.
yeah,
They've been to the quarters a few times. No, not the quarter. Sorry, the round of 16. And as I've said earlier, when Prince was listing the accomplishments of Dortmund, if you did the same for Monaco, the picture becomes clear because I'm pretty sure they haven't even qualified for most of the seasons.
another thing is Leipzig, they were on the right track, but are they? Would you call them at the right track now? Because as you all know, football fans have very short memories.
Yeah.
Leipzig 2017, 2018 group stage, 2019, 2020 semi-final, 2020, 2021, round of 16, and then 2021, 2022 group stage. So they've been in the Champions League for 4 seasons, and they've gone out in the group stage twice, round of 16 once, and then the semi-finals once. Again, I think most of us here would say comfortably as well. I think. Again, maybe you don't, but I think most of us would say that the 3 big German clubs, in terms of ability, in terms of when we predict our end of season table, right? I think most of us would say Bayern, and then in whatever order, Dortmund and Leipzig. And there's been one semi-final, and that was Leipzig 2 years ago. There's been one semi-final, 3 years ago. There's been one semi-final from those teams in the last decade. That's not like that. I'm sorry. Like okay, you can make the argument against Ligue 1, but that isn't good enough. Like if those are your number 2 and number 3 teams, that's not good enough. You compare that. I mean, again, people don't want to see it because Manchester City dominates the Premier League easily. They're definitely going to win it this season again. I think most people would have agreed with that even before the season started. I most certainly did. I thought it's an easy clap. But you've got Liverpool making it to the finals, to the semi-finals, to the round of 16, to the quarters. You've got Manchester City. Okay, they haven't won it, but they're basically every year they're one of the biggest favorites. Semi-finals, quarterfinals, so on and so forth. You've got Chelsea, literally dead, come back. Hey, we're now winners. Woo! You've got Tottenham, made it to the final. Everybody clowns on Tottenham, yet they still make it to the final. That's the difference. Like if I am not a Bundesliga fan, right, and I've got I'm Mr. Dickens. I'm not even Tom Dickens from England anymore. I'm now Mr. I'm Mr. I don't know. My name is now Donald Trump, right? I'm from America. I've got no affiliation with the Bundesliga. I've got no affiliation with any of the leagues in Europe. I watched a football compilation. The World Cup was on, and I thought, oh, that looks pretty interesting. Let me watch some top football. Why would I ever choose a German team to watch and to follow? What incentive is there for me? Why not just, I want to see these teams play in the biggest competitions, the Super Bowl of football, aka the Champions League. I want to see the teams play in the biggest competitions. And I want to see them do well in their national team every week so that, I can root for them. I've got something to go for. But I don't want to pick the best team in their league because I don't want to, be a bandwagon. I want to pick the second best team, but I want them to always be competitive internationally. You're not going to pick a Bundesliga team. You're going to pick Liverpool.
Yeah.
So again, it boils down to what can the Bundesliga do to be more competitive and more attractive as well.
Sorry, the thing is, even success internationally wouldn't even do that much because you've just listed Premier League clubs and what they've achieved in the past decade. Their achievements pale in comparison to the La Liga. And I think you'd all agree that Premier League, when it comes to perception, is still miles ahead of La Liga.
I would disagree on many things that you just said. One, I think you're taking into account the Europa League. If I'm Mr. Donald Trump from America, what do I care about the Europa League? There are teams in there that I've never even heard of before. What on earth is a Spartaku Moskowia? I've never heard of that team before. What's this? Clube Brugge? I don't know who that is. Why do I care about it? I want to see the best teams. I want to see, the Messis, the Ronaldos. I want to see those kind of players that I can find easy compilations for on YouTube. I want to see those teams perform week in, week out. And that's where the Premier League shines, not La Liga. Because beyond Real Madrid, there's no La Liga teams haven't performed in Europe since, was it 2016, 2017 when Barca won it?
Yeah.
No, 14, 15.
14, 15.
But they always have the most fans, though. Barca and Real Madrid, regardless of what happens, they'll have the biggest fan bases.
Yeah, but that's because of they're still hype for Messi. Because
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately I'm someone that watches reaction videos a lot for reasons that Tausif might know, but I watch reaction
Yeah.
videos a lot, and to this day, the thing that people react to the most is Ronaldo at
Yeah. True.
Real Madrid and Messi at Barcelona. So even though those players have long since moved on, that's all. If you're a new fan, you're like, oh man, this Messi. I want to watch that Messi kid. Which team does he play for? Barcelona. Okay, I'm gonna watch it. Not real. I'm gonna become a fan of Barcelona, not realizing that they've long left.
Mm.
So if they're just a neutral, they just started watching the World Cup and now they're like, oh, you know what? I quite enjoyed this game of soccer. Let me watch some, let me watch some Champions League and I'll decide on. Oh, let me watch some football and I'll decide on, a team based on how they perform in a Champions League. Yeah, they're not going to pick a German team besides Bayern. No. It's a Premier League team. So it's a question of competitiveness, but obviously it's not just a question of competitiveness. Yeah, competitiveness in the Bundesliga. It's also a question of competitiveness internationally, and when I say internationally, I don't. Okay, I get it. Europa League and Conference League to people like us who are already watching football, who are already watching leagues, who already have teams, so on and so forth. To us, it's fun. But if I'm a newcomer, right, and I see these pictures that are like, half broken, I see these teams that I've never heard of before. This, what's this? Sporting Lisbon? Lisbon? Never heard of that. Nah, don't care. I lost interest already. Where are the superstars? They're not going to watch Europa League. They're not going to watch Conference League. They care about the Champions League. And they're not going to, if they're watching that, they don't care about the Bundesliga because the Bundesliga isn't going to be there. Like, what are you going to do? Let's say Dortmund has a great run again, right? Hypothetically speaking, let's just say this season they make it to the semifinals, all right? I'm Mr. Donald Trump. I'm watching the Champions League for the first time. I see them run. I see their run to the Champions League. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. I want to see that. I'm going to become a fan of them. Next season, summer is here. Next season starts. Half the team is different. They sold all their talents. I'm not gonna keep watching them. Why would I? I've just started following them, because I liked how they were playing, and now a new season comes around and they're playing completely different. Like why? When you really break it down like that, is the Bundesliga really? As you described, Towser, is the Bundesliga really that competitive in Europe? Is it really?
No.
See how I just destroyed the argument, even though I don't agree, even though I sort of agree with it.
I mean, the thing is, it is competitive because it's still the third best league in Europe. The thing is just, people don't care about that. People just care about the best. That's the issue. And we're not gonna because England and Spain are light years ahead of Germany and the rest of the world, actually, the rest of Europe. So my wish for the Bundesliga would just be for the next 2 to 3, 4 years to cement that third spot on in people's minds, just as you said. Although we are technically better than Serie A and Ligue 1 in Europe, people will often not perceive that to be the case. So that's why that's the only hope I have for the Bundesliga at this point is secure the third spot and I kind of go from there because you're not getting anywhere near Spain or England in the next 10 years.
Sorry, Daniel. We kind of just it's
No,
kind of just
I
been a
agree
back
with
and
you.
forth between us two.
Yeah.
You're in America, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you a question then. If you try and convince one of your friends to watch football, right?
Mhm.
Which is easier, right? Look, You know, you've watched a few football compilations, and I know you really care. You know, you've really liked these attacking players, but you should watch Bayern. What superstar have they got? You know, they've got Neuer. You know, he's a goalkeeper, and they've got this. You know, this guy called Musiala. He's not really flashy, but you know, he keeps the ball well. Or, well, watch PSG. They've got Messi, you know, the best player of all time. They've got Neymar. Hey, he's got skills. You think that he's playing FIFA, bro? It's so fucking crazy, man. He's just dancing around the opponents. It's absolutely mental, bro. And they've got Mbappe. He's like the best thing, the next best thing. You know, his pace is he's lightning quick. Usain Bolt can't catch up with him. Yo, this Mbappe kid is whoo. He is fire. Yo, next best thing, already hails like the best player of all time. So they've got the best player of all time in Messi. They've got Neymar. You know, he's just dancing, dribbling through everyone. And they've got this Mbappe kid who's just lightning fast and is like the next best thing. Which one is he gonna watch?
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie. When people ask me because I've had it a few times, they ask me what team should I support. I never once tell them Bayern. I always say Real Madrid. You'll win something. You'll actually like see your team win something. I never say consistently. I will never tell them Bayern because, like, it's hard to make an argument. They don't, like you said, they don't got the Neymar. They don't got the Mbappe. They don't got the Ronaldo. They don't got that big league where there's something on the line. There's no risk. So I always say, if you want to win something consistently, go Real Madrid. If you want to have fun every weekend, think there's something on the line, go somewhere in the big league, big teams in England. I've never once told them Bayern.
But didn't we have some guy in our squad? I believe people consider him to be the best striker in the world.
Yeah, but what something that you gotta keep in mind, right? When people talk about like the best striker / best, you know, people will talk about best goal scorer, and they're like, "Oh, Ronaldo." What does striker mean to anyone?
Yeah.
You know, if you don't know football, what does the best striker mean to you? Unless he looks cool on the pitch, you know, and does crazy things, nobody's gonna watch him. That's just the way it is. Which is funny actually. In 2014, some of you might not know this, but in 2014, I was writing for Bayern Central, it was back then. It was called FC Bayern Central. Now, then it changed its name to Bayern Central, and then now it's just gone. Doesn't exist anymore. But back then, during 2014, I was writing for Bayern Central at the time. And one of my arguments was that Bayern needs a flair player. And which is funny because we signed Douglas Costa the season after. But my argument was that Bayern, from like a marketing perspective, are lacking like attractiveness. We can win as many trophies as we want, and we can play good football as much as we want. From a newcomer's perspective, what we lack is someone that people can gravitate towards. And I feel like, you know, Musiala, he can definitely become that, but he also needs to, for lack of a better term, he needs to do it on a bigger stage.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to do it when all eyes are on him. Like, all eyes were on Neymar, because Neymar, you know, all eyes naturally were on Messi, and with Neymar being there as well, and then MSN, the eyes were all on those. And Neymar with his skills, everyone just wants to watch him. Musiala, if he wants to have that if he wants to be like that Marvel guy, he really needs to like do it on the biggest, like in the Champions League semi-finals when it's like 0-0, he needs to do it. In a Champions League final, he needs to do it. In a World Cup, he needs to do it. Same goes for Davis. Like Davis, you know, with his whole stick against Barcelona, against what's the guy's name? I forgot who.
Nelson Semedo.
Semedo, that's the one. Like with that, you know, he got a lot of fans, and then people realize, wait, he's a defender, don't care. And that's just unfortunate the way it is. You know, defenders, nobody cares about defenders. You can be a fullback and nobody cares. Marcelo for years, Dani Alves for years, they've got flair. They'll dribble you past you better than most wingers will. Nobody cares. They're fullbacks. Who cares? So, anyway.
I kind of disagree on the Davies point, though, because after that, like, he did become a superstar in the world. Like Drake followed him after that. Marcelo was a big fan of him after that. Like he did blow up after that moment. Like he became like he's one of the players people look for the most at Bayern after that. Like I'd say depending on where you are in the world, you'll want to watch Davies more than Muller, which is kind of like weird to say, but
Well, I don't disagree with you on that part,
Mhm.
but my counter argument to that is, which I probably didn't highlight as well as I thought I did when I mentioned it. He did all those things. Everyone was talking about him, and then the conversations shifted like a week after, and nobody cared anymore. As in, like, you've still got your obviously Canadians and your MLS fans who've watched him, who are like, "Yo, David, that's my guy." But like, if you ask people nowadays, like, who's the best left back, people aren't gonna say Davis.
Yeah.
If you ask, who would you rather have, Robertson or Marcelo? Like, yeah, that's a bad comparison to make because Marcelo is basically retired at this point. But basically, if you ask people who they would rather have, let's say Davis, who's like 20 years old, starter for Bayern, one of the best left backs in world football. If people ask you, who would you rather have, Davis or Foden? People will go Foden because he's an attacker. There's just a bias to it. And that's why, like, there was hype around Davis, but that hype, it comes back once a year because, whenever the anniversary of that game is, it comes back. But like beyond that, nobody cares really about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a fullback, not because he's an attacker. If he was an attacker and he did that, people would still be talking about that every single day to this day.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like how consistently he can do it on the big stage, like you said, because like you look at Marcelo, he's had moments like that his whole career. The goal against Atletico in the final, the skills against Bayern, the goals against Bayern. He's done it consistently, like in the big games. If Davies can do that, if Musiala can do that, I think those are the two with the potential at Bayern to like get the superstar status, to like lift Bayern to like a better marketing level.
And that's sort of the issue of the club at the moment. Like, we've got a lot of players that suit our style, that do really well, so on and so forth, but we don't have that one player that people can, like, almost, like, grab onto. A lot of people would say that's Müller. A lot of people would say that's Kimmich. A lot of people would say that's Neuer. A lot of people would say that's Mane. A lot of people would say that's Musiala. But that's sort of the issue. A lot of people would say X, Y, and Z. But we don't have that one player that everyone will say, you know what? That's that guy. That right there, that's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I mean,
one player who's gonna be like, you'll think, give him the ball, give him the ball, give him the ball. We don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and the issue, already we as a club run into this issue, and we always have to bear in mind we're talking about the entire league here, and if we have that problem, you can only imagine that the same problem. Although no, Dortmund weirdly didn't have that problem, yeah, because they had Haaland, they had Sancho, they had
Bellingham now.
Bellingham, yeah. But the rest of the
We
league
really
still.
had it with Holland, like the big superstar where you just give him the ball, give him the ball, give him the ball. But you
That's the reason. That's the reason. Sorry to cut you off here.
Yeah,
As to why they should go for Ronaldo.
yeah.
Then you've also got Leverkusen, who don't have it, but also do have it. They've got Wirtz.
They got it in Germany. Everywhere else, no shot.
Yeah. So,
true.
like, Wirtz shares a very similar issue that Musiala has, where, but Musiala not to the same extent as Wirtz, because Musiala, he's pretty well known, but like Wirtz shares like sort of that issue where people that care about young talents all know about him, but he hasn't done it on like the big stage, like on the, like the semi-final of like a European trophy or Europe or international competition. So not everyone is aware of him. So he's got it within Germany, but not outside of it. Besides maybe like Barcelona fans, because Barcelona, because Wirtz is apparently like a huge Barcelona fan. So like Barcelona fans have been like keeping an eye on him, same as Mukoko, for like a long time now.
Yeah. I think the one interesting thing too is like because I think the two we have at Bayern we can rely on, Musiala and Davies. The World Cup's coming up. Davies plays as an attacker for Canada. Musiala could
Yeah.
light the World Cup. If those two pop it off, that's gonna be huge because that's the biggest stage in the world, billions of eyes. So
Also Mane for Senegal.
yeah, because it's like if if those guys can do anything on that big stage, because Canada they play well as a team. They got number one in their qualifiers. Germany are Germany, and if Musiala and Davies can be the star of that team and do it on the biggest stage, like that's it. That's what they need. That's what Bayern need and the Bundesliga needs.
Yeah, the World Cup. Did you do you guys? I'm sure you've heard of the insane stat when it comes to World Cup finals in Bayern Munich.
Oh yeah,
That ever since 1982, every World Cup final has had one Bayern player
Bayern
playing.
player.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not really surprising. It's like the same thing with Champions League final. Sorry, not Champions League finals having a Croatian in there.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
why I like.
it's not it's not surprising now, but back until in 1982, that's pretty mad. No,
Well,
actually no, because we've had three back-to-back finals for Germany in the 80s, so I guess yeah, that explains it.
I think the
and the,
Croatia one's more surprising because of like the size of the country. That's why we need
exactly.
Stanisic.
Exactly. I think that's more surprising because the World Cup's
Yeah.
every 4 years. So, like, and Bayern typically, they're always a big team. So they're bound to have the best players, which means that they're bound to have, someone in a World Cup final. Whereas, like, the
Which also
Croatian.
makes me glad, kind of, that that Stanisic chose Croatia.
If you actually do think about it, he's our most important player because our odds of
Yeah,
getting the Champions League are on him being in the squad.
yeah, because he is German as far as I know. Like not German, but was raised in Germany as far as I know. He could have played for Germany as well.
But good thing he chose Croatia because now we have a chance in the final.
Please don't be a penalty.
You see
That's
that?
not a penalty. That's not a penalty, right? Nianzou, my boy, please. Okay, not a penalty.
Are you guys watching the Sevilla game?
Yeah.
It's not a penalty. Good. Okay,
I worried too. I was like, oh shit.
I was about to cry. Woo! Dive. They're trying to dive against my boy. Speaking of my boy, I guess it's time to discuss my boy. He's left
He's
us.
gone. The fraud is gone.
The who's gone now?
The fraud.
Okay, how do I kick someone from the special? My boy Nianzou.
The buggy, the clown of Bayern Munich.
Look, all I'm gonna say is I'm not gonna say much. All I'm gonna say is there is a reason the club made sure to get a sell-on clause and a buyback clause. He's playing right
Amazing
now.
deal.
First game possible for Sevilla, and he started. Right now, he is the second highest Sevilla player, the second highest rated Sevilla player in this game.
Yeah.
What more needs to be said?
He's only had one iffy moment, which is a bad clearance with the header. Other than that, he's been good. But
Whom are they playing against?
Real Valladolid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They drew against Barcelona previous week. So
But yeah, what's everyone's sad thoughts on Nianzou leaving?
I mean,
were
perfect
you
deal.
heartbroken?
I wasn't like all jokes aside, right? I always wanted him to make it here, but I just didn't see a way for him to get the playing time he required to make the next step in the next few months. So I always wanted him to go on loan, not to outright sell him. When I heard that Sevilla were going to buy him, I was a bit nervous. But the deal that Brazzo and the others have brokered is just phenomenal. I think, regardless of how Nianzou ends up or where he ends up, we're gonna profit off of it. And yeah, that's just good.
Like that deal, we totally scam Sevilla because even if we buy him back, which I think we will, it's still a good deal for us. So I'm not too sad he left because he'll be back one day. I know he is, so I'm not too sad. I'm happy he's gonna get the experience, and then we'll buy him back when Lucas Hernandez leaves next season.
I'm gonna cry talking about my boy. My boy, my boy, my boy, my boy, my boy. He left, and you know what? I should be happy for him because Bayern is a fraudulent club, quite frankly, a fraudulent club with a fraudulent manager, a manager that doesn't play the young superstars that he has unless they're in attack. Oh, but defensive young superstars, oh no, those I won't play. The young guys that are playing in the fence, that you know what, they could develop a lot. Nah, I'm not going to develop them. Nianzou, gone. Most talent for a centre back ever, gone. Chris Richards, very solid as a centre back. Yup played him. Sorry, not Yup. Hansi Flick played him almost like every week. Oh, this guy who's got so many minutes for Bayern and was like Hoffenheim's best player. Ooh, amazing. Sell him. So I should be happy for my boy. I should be.
To be fair, oh sorry, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say he went to Sevilla to, you know what, be the main man, be the best player in the world, and I should be happy for him. It just pains me that, well, didn't he really get an assist there, or what was I tripping?
Kinda.
Well, they nearly got an assist as well, and I would have celebrated a lot. But no, offside. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
But yeah, my boy, he's left. I'm heartbroken. But now, realistically, I look at it as a loan.
Yeah, it's a loan.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is too, it's like we say the young defender got the worst treatment by Nagelsmann, but it's really Paul Benner who got the biggest scam.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I know we talked about our lineup for the next game earlier, but Vidovic isn't with the second team this week. So there are rumors that, like, oh, is he with the first team? Is he going to get some minutes? And I'm just like, do these guys not learn? like, do these guys not learn that, like, you know, unless you're, it's, you know what, right? I'm going to give him a shout out to him. AC Bayern, or whatever his new Twitter now is, formerly, what was he formerly known as? Forgot his name. Forgot what he was formerly known as, but what was his former Twitter name? A very divisive figure, who hates Lucas Hernandez with a passion. I forgot what his name is now.
Oh, I think, is it the Basti one?
Basti, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's him. Who's now AC Bayern, like AC Milan and Bayern thing. Right?
That's him now?
Yeah.
Oh God.
No way. What? That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he just like left Twitter. Oh, that guy's funny. I like him.
I like he made a great point. He made a great point when he said that, like, all of the youngsters in Vanna, in Vidovic, in Ibrahimovic, in etc., they are not going to get minutes because we just spent 30 million on Tell.
No.
And, like, it doesn't even matter. Even if they were more talented, they would not get minutes right now because of the amount of money that we just spent on Tell. And you know what? I think that is a little fair. I think that's quite fair.
Yeah.
Because I like what I've seen from Tell. But, like, Vanna, one game, amazing. Absolutely amazing game. He hasn't been seen since. You know, like those who's Wally books.
Yeah.
They should be who's Wanna. That's really what it should be. Because, like, Vanna and Vidovic, they're not gonna get games. I know Nagelsmann keeps talking about them every press conference, saying, like, oh yeah, Vanna, you know, based on current form, he really should be in the starting 11. You know, he's just doing really well in training and he's playing really well whenever he does play. And I'm just like, don't play him. like, stop saying all these nice things. You know, actually reward him. And, you know, in regards to Vidovic, he's saying that, like, Vidovic is too good currently for the second team. So, you know, that we're looking for options for him because he's too good for the second team. And he's like not quite ready yet for our first team. Okay, all right. Get him a loan then. Get him a loan to, I don't know, Hoffenheim or
Yeah.
something, or Hertha. But like, it's funny because when he's played 2 games so far out of 2 that he could play. He's played every single game. Vanna last season, who was hyped up. Oh, we love Vanna. Amazing. Yeah, this kid is gonna be special. He's gonna be the the Müller replacement. Wirtz 2. We're not gonna get Wirtz. We're gonna stick with Vanna. Amazing kid. Yo, best kid ever. Signs the extension. Gone forever.
He also like sends a terrible message to the Bayern youth coming up in the future, as well as Vanna and Vidovic, obviously, because regardless of how much your club values you, when it comes down to it, they're gonna just put 30 million down to get another one, who they deem better, but who's not proven it before signing for you. So that's a bit weird, I guess.
Yeah, because even if you look at Tarek Bushman, he's got like 1 year left on his contract, and it's like if you don't show a pathway to the first team, when we have so many center backs, he's gone. We lose him, and it's like we have a lot of good academy players, and it's like where are they gonna fit in? Because it's like unless you sell the Sanés and Comans, these guys aren't gonna get in.
Exactly, and that's sort of what it all boils down to. Now again, the club clearly values Tell a lot higher than any of our other attacking talents, and I can't comment on that because, as I said, I didn't know much about Tell beforehand. But it just sends a bad message to the rest of like the youth team that like, yeah, you know what? Unless we're spending money for you, you're not gonna play. Like when you think about like the players that came for our youth team, right? ... When you think about young players that we bought that played a few games for our youth team and then got promoted, oh, you've got Musiala, Davis, and
Alaba back in the day.
Alaba, Tell, who already didn't even play for the second team, but just comes in and is like, yeah, I've not played anything, I haven't proven myself, but hey, you bought me for 30 million. Come on, let me play. And you know what? They're giving him every minute available. And again, it's not a matter of ability. It is. It always boils down to a matter of ability, but it's not. It's not like Vidovic or Vanna, are bad prospects and bad players. But it boils down to, well, it feels like there's always a roadblock put in their way. And in this case, it feels like there is a roadblock that was put in their way that hasn't proven itself, but is still ahead of them just because the club spent money on them.
Yeah, because I think a lot of it boils down to like luck and timing. Because it's like if any of our young players are going to come through, I think it's going to be through the midfield because that's where we're probably the most light on. Because I can't see like someone coming in for the center back spot really, or an attacking spot where we have like Lavros, Vonarek, and Ibrahimovic who could like have a decent chance of like maybe coming through in the midfield in a few years where we could be light there in a few years. Because with Kimmich and Sabitzer getting older, Gravenberg, we don't know how well he's going to do. But with the attack, it's like you have so many players who are supposed to hit their prime soon. So it's like, where are you going to fit in Werner and Vidovic?
One thing I just want to bring up very quickly, just while we're here. Congratulations to the Bayern women team who have just won the Women's French Cup, which is like a friendly
Preseason
tournament.
yeah.
Yeah, preseason friendly.
They
tournament.
also won against Barcelona in a preseason match, but I don't know how much that's worth because Barcelona are playing without Putellas. But one thing I'm gonna do this season definitely is go to a few Bayern München women matches because they're only like €7, and that's very cheap. So I'm gonna go there.
Yeah, they beat Barcelona in the semi-final, and then beat Manchester United today in the final 3-0. So congratulations to them. Didn't get to watch it, but still congratulations to them. But yeah, defensive youngsters, they're not getting game time. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you're imagine being Tanguy Nianzou, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're 20 years old. You think, okay, you know what? Last season towards the end, I got a lot of game time. Hopefully, I can keep that going. Hopefully, I can keep showing what I can do. And then, okay, it might be difficult. I've got, Lucas Hernandez and Meccano in front of me. Sula, he left. Bayern will probably get, experienced defender in. Okay, but you know what? Maybe I'll be able to still, push my way through. What do Bayern go and do? They get a centre back for 80 million. That is 23 years old. So okay, the guy put in front of me isn't going to be here just for like 2-3 years. This is someone that's going to be here for a decade. And you've got Upamecano, who's also 23. He's also going to be here for a decade. He's got to leave. That's why he left. What Bayern, in my opinion, maybe should have done. Now, granted, if the option of De Ligt is there, you take it. So I don't blame Bayern for that. But what Bayern could have done, or maybe should have done, is done the Dortmund approach, which Dortmund this season, with Haller being out, Dortmund went and got Modeste in for 1 season. So that Modeste doesn't stand in the way of Moukoko and doesn't stand in the way of Haller. So maybe we should have gotten like a centre-back in for 1 season. And again, I don't know how feasible that would be, but that could have been an option that we should have considered. But again, if De Ligt is available, you get him. Yeah. So I don't blame Bayern really for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what I would have done is just like loaned him out, and then next summer rejuvenate the squad, move on some players like Lucas, and then you can have Nianzou come in then.
I would have done something very very differently. Because he can play 2 positions as far as we know, right? We always talk about centre back, but one thing in one position where we always need strengthening in, and where we still need strengthening in, depending if Sabitzer works out or not, is defensive midfield. So why not get rid of Sabitzer, don't buy anyone else, and have Nianzou there? That was like what I wished at the very start of the transfer window. What I've always wanted. But unfortunately, I mean, if I don't know if he's more suitable for defensive mid or centre back. I'm assuming centre back, but it would have been nice for him to do if we tried him out on that position.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we remember my starting lineup prediction for this season. I actually did have Nianzou in midfield, and I said that I think he's going to start there for us, during the early half of the season before then transitioning into a centre back full time. Well, that didn't work out. That didn't work out in the slightest. But yeah, I wish him all the best. I'm gonna follow the Sevilla games because I do think he is the centre back with like the most talent in world football. That hasn't changed just because he doesn't play for Bayern anymore. But it just feels like the centre backs that I want, the young players that I want at Bayern are just all taking a different path. Nianzou, has left Bayern. Gakpo is potentially joining Manchester United. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Very, very heartbreaking. Slonina, has moved to Chelsea. So Van der Voort, he's going to Leipzig, so I do appreciate that. Although I think Bayern could have been in there. Depends. I mean, I rate his potential higher than Nubel, but you always want a German goalkeeper, I guess. So, I can understand Van der Voort going to Leipzig in 2 years' time. I think that's a great deal, honestly, for all sides involved. Leipzig get 2 more years of Balashi before they get Van der Voort to replace him, and Van der Voort knows exactly where he's going in 2 years' time, and the club knows exactly where he's going in 2 years' time, and everyone else knows exactly where he's going in 2 years' time. So I think that's a great deal. And I think clubs did more deals like that when they buy a player, not for this season, but for 2 years down the line or 1 year down the line. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, honestly, a lot of young players that I like, something always happened to them. I think I mentioned this with Wirtz before. I've been adamant that I was like, okay, yeah, the kid is good, but like he's not gonna be a world class. Yeah, the kid is great, but he's not gonna be world class. The kid is actually, you know what? He might become world class, maybe with hard work. And then like the second I was, you know what? This kid is world class. He gets injured and he's out for 6 months. So maybe there is a curse. Maybe.
I don't know. For me, it's the other way around. Whenever I want someone at Bayern Munich, eventually they end up there. Like as a child, always wanted Klose to play for Bayern Munich. I'm not saying it worked out, but they did play. I mean, the first one was Klose. Then I always wanted, not because I thought it was great, but I always wondered how. I always wanted Gnabry at Bayern when he was at Arsenal. I was like a German player at Arsenal. And he likes One Piece because I was, he said it in an interview, I want him at Bayern. Done the stupid reason, but I still wanted him. When I saw Leroy Sané's performance against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu at the age of 17, I was like, that kid has got to come to Bayern Munich. And he did. And also James Rodriguez during the 2014 World Cup. Those few players, I wanted them to come to Bayern. I've not wanted many players to come to Bayern. But those I wanted, and they ended up at Bayern. So
Right.
maybe I'm the other way around.
Do me a favor, yeah.
Yeah.
You know that Mbappe kid.
No, keep him the hell away from Bayern. Keep him the hell away.
You know that Neymar lad.
Neymar, I'm okay with. Keep Mbappe the hell away out of here.
Yeah, you know that Neymar lad. Can you just like find the Dragon Balls, get a genie, and just make a wish?
Get what's his name? Shenron.
Yes, just do me a favor and make a wish. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not a foundation, but make a wish.
Okay. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll watch some Gakpo vids and.
Yes, I was just about to bring him up too. Hijack it from United. Anything but United.
I mean, United. His career is down the drain. Sorry, but that club is. If Ten Hag doesn't turn it around for them, I think they're going to be a mid-table club they already are, by a consistent mid-table team at best in 5 years' time.
They got Casemiro today.
Is it confirmed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, okay.
Varane was the one who confirmed it.
Well, the club's confirmed it as well.
Yeah. Well, I think Varane confirmed it first, right?
Not sure. No, yesterday Ancelotti confirmed it too because he was like, he's leaving us to go to a mid-table club. He was like extremely brutal about that. Like he was like, I don't understand why a player would want to leave the European champions to go in a mid-table club, but that's what he wants to do. And I'm like, bro, didn't have to be this. You didn't have to be this brutal.
I mean, I understand it because not Manchester United, but generally the Premier League, because you're gonna get money from there. You can just.
He went for the bag. That's it.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. That's one of the instances where I'd say, you know what, fine on him. He's won 5 Champions Leagues. He can do whatever he wants. It's a smart move by him. And let's be honest, even in his 30s, the Premier League is not going to be too physical for him. He's going to be too physical for the Premier League.
That's the crazy part. He's won more Champions League than every club has, besides
Liverpool.
3.
Yeah.
Bayern, Liverpool, and AC
Yeah,
Milan.
that's
Well, I'm not including Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's won more Champions League trophies than every club in world football, besides those 4 clubs, Real Madrid included.
And he's also a cartel of signing that they desperately needed. I mean, they need a lot of signings, Manchester United, but
not flashy, but just very, very effective.
Yeah.
Mm. That's crazy too. I think if he stayed, he would have won more easily.
Yeah, that's the one match I'm gonna watch on Monday. Liverpool versus United. I've got to see that.
He won't be ready by then, apparently.
No, definitely not. And they're gonna, because the thing is, unfortunately, and I'm saying unfortunately, just because of this game, because I quite enjoy when Liverpool doesn't have a good phase or good form, and they don't seem to have that. But I needed them to be really, really good so they can really, really embarrass Manchester United at Old Trafford, so we can see some protests, some people walking out, some mayhem. But I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is, I've lost my point now. Damn it! I've lost my point now. No, I had a very good point that I was just waiting for you to finish, and I lost it now. Forgot
Was it
it
about
now.
Liverpool? Was it about United?
I don't think it was about either. It'll come back to
Casemiro.
me. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. Oh yeah, Casemiro. All I'm gonna say is this: Chouameni walked into Real Madrid, played a few preseason friendly games, and basically made Casemiro F off.
Mhm.
That's how good he is. That's all I'm gonna say. That's how good he is.
Him and Camavinga are gonna be the best partnership for a decade.
I mean, they're playing together for club and country, so you'd assume, yeah.
It's so annoying. It's
I
so
wanted
annoying.
Camavinga at Bayern so bad.
I wanted both at Bayern so bad. I was begging for them every week, and none of them happened.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even if we offer a lot, the chokehold that Real Madrid has on of France and basically every other teenager that's coming up now is just too strong. The pull is just too great even for us.
You know, realistically, here is what needs to be done, right? If Bayern wants the next big French players, what they should do is get Cherky and Archiche, and that's it. And that's it, right? Get the jewels of French
Who?
football with Cherky and Archiche, and get
Never heard
those
of them.
two in, right? And then you can have two French midfields go up against over in Real Madrid and Bayern. That's it.
Real Madrid have the better one still.
That
And
remains
plus-
to be seen.
And plus, we already have we had the two jewels of France, but we lost one. We still have the other.
True,
Yeah, you can
that's
tell.
true.
Yeah.
Well, we've also got the two Senegalese jewels of football in Mane
Mane
and
and Sa.
Sa.
Yeah.
News coming out today that Sa, according to Sport One, I'll read it to you. Bouna Sarr has apparently limited his sporting ambitions. The Senegalese is not interested in leaving Bayern.
Yay!
Oh my god.
Sorry, let me read this without laughing. The Senegalese is not interested in leaving Bayern and prefers to continue collecting a substantial sum for playing at Bayern, less than 5 million euros per year.
Disaster for
Yeah.
Nianzou's debut. Disaster. They're down.
That's probably, I'm not going to say the worst deal, but one of the worst deals in the last recent
Breno
memory.
exists.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But at least things were lit. Get it?
Oh my
No?
goodness. Stop.
Oh, that's a
Stop.
Nianzou mistake. Oh no.
Look, all right. Look, all right. We're not talking about Nianzou. We're not talking about Nianzou here, right? We're not talking about him. He's not part of Bayern anymore. Let's not talk about him. All right.
He leaves a gaping hole in the defense and they score. Oh no.
Let's talk about Bouna Sarr. Let's have some fun. All right.
Well, when did he sign his 4-year contract?
Last year.
18? Oh my god. It feels like it was. Oh, yeah, no. Wasn't it 2020? Wasn't he the replacement for the legendary Odriozola?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Was
think
not
so.
last
He
No,
came in. He was part of the legendary window where was it him, Rocca,
Yeah.
Choupo-Moting,
Mhm.
and Sabitzer? No, Sabitzer.
That was last year.
Yeah, it was last year. Sorry. Yeah. The last the panic by quartet. Yeah. So
You know what,
2020.
yeah?
So
Oh, Costa was the other one.
Costa. Yeah.
A legend.
So it's 2 years already over. So 2 years more to endure.
You know what?
to enjoy.
One thing that we need to remember or actually think about is that this season, Mark Rocha left Bayern for Leeds.
Yeah, and he's doing bits. He's really
I
good.
was just about to say, I don't know whether anyone here has been keeping up with how he's been doing for Leeds,
Yeah,
but he has been absolutely spectacular.
I'm not
yeah.
surprised. He was a good player.
But also goes to show how I mean he failed in the Bundesliga, but he's performing in the arguably worst league in the Premier League. I'm just
No,
saying.
you're not. You're not saying anything.
He always did decent at Bayern when he played too. He was a good guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's another
But
one
even
that was mistreated by the Bayern coaches. Because when he
yeah,
played well,
Yeah.
and yet he still wasn't given time.
He just came at a bad time because he was part of the Panic Quartet. So it's like he always had that to his name.
is that now catching on? Panic Quartet.
I hope not. I hope that doesn't become a thing.
I mean, okay, no, Choupo-Moting and if Choupo-Moting and Sarr leave, then that'll be the end of the legendary era.
To be fair though, Moting's got more knockout goals than Lemon Disney ever did for us.
Yeah, we clown on him, but he's been actually very good for us. Even when I mean, he was thrown into the cold water against PSG,
Yeah.
dropped into the deep end, but he performed really well. He scored 2 goals, maybe even 3. Yeah. So yeah, I like that's one of the signings, low key, one of the better ones of the last years. So.
Okay. Well, I think we've talked about all the topics that you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
So I want to end this and I want to make this like a regular occurrence, I guess, by ending it with having 2 last things to say. One, since the last time, it's been a significantly longer amount of time than usual, but since the last time we all spoke, what games have you been watching since then? Like, what football have you been watching? Which players have stood out to you? Which teams have impressed you? Just like your general thoughts on football and like since the last time we spoke. That isn't Bayern related necessarily.
I only really watch the Premier League outside of the Bundesliga. So I watch a lot of the Premier League games. The one player who I really like, because I love watching defenders, Saliba, he looks really good for Arsenal.
Okay.
So he's impressed me a lot. Gabriel Jesus impressed me a lot too for Arsenal. Yeah, those 2 for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I only semi-regularly watch other leagues, and the only other game I've seen this season was because I didn't care for any of the rest. Was United against Brentford,
Yeah.
and I watched it while I was cooking, so I only saw the important bits. And I didn't see, obviously, I could have observed any good players from Brentford, but I chose to look at the bad players for United. And a player that stuck out for me, because I hadn't followed him at all in the past few years, was De Gea. He was horrible. It's some of the worst goalkeeping I've ever seen. And like I knew he had gone downhill for the past few years. But I had no idea he'd gotten that bad. So yeah, De Gea is my the player that negatively stuck out to me.
Yeah. That was a fun game to watch too, because it's like
Yeah, it was extremely
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
They have a good player too, Brentford, Aaron Hickey. He's a good fullback. And then De Gea, ever since the Ronaldo hat trick in the World Cup, he's been
Yeah.
wild. That ruined him.
Cool. Welcome.
Yo.
You're basically joining right at the end. Like, we're literally wrapping up right now.
You're about to. No, why don't you guys? You should have sent me the DM. Just DM me individually because I don't know. Like, I don't get notifications if you send it to the group. Like, just DM me individually. Because I was like,
I'll keep that in mind for future.
yeah, because I was gonna come and I didn't even know you guys started or anything. But I'm gonna just say my quick word about this. Man.
Yep. Go for it.
Seriously, yo, I ain't gonna hold you, but it's too much shit going on with Bayern, yo. I'm serious, yo. The fitness coaches are ridiculous, yo. I'm sorry, man. Those they're ridiculous. The squad needs more than what they have right now. I think they need some depth. You could get like some extra players. So for me, um, I really want, I really want them to go get a backup left back or a DM for what's gonna call it for the season for this season because the team is really not good, guys. I'm sorry, depth wise, we're not good. We're very depleted. You see how like all of a sudden now that we have two injuries, now we have to like rely on players like Sane who very inconsistent. Got to rely on these type of guys who they're not really, So the team is really depleted. They need to really work on the depth and the bench. And this is not time for Khan to say, "Oh, our job is done in the transfer window," because we seriously have a lot to do. Another thing too is I find it strange. Only 2 games in, bro. Only 2 games in, and players are already getting injured. I mean, we got to start changing these fitness coaches. We got to do something because this has been something going on for the past 2 3 years straight, straight, and it's really bugging me nowadays. It's really bugging me. So I'm gonna tell you this. I'm holding the L against Bochum. I can't wait. I think we're gonna hold another L. Um, I think it's gonna be 4-1, 4-1 Bochum. You might think I'm crazy, but this is just how I see it. Um,
You're gonna laugh. That's why I didn't predict a 4-1 loss, but I said there's a good chance there's gonna be a game where we lose 4-1.
yeah. It's one of those games. It's one of those games. I can see it happening. I think, and that's why I did my predicted 11. I don't know if you guys saw it on my page, but I rested all the players. There's no point. You get what I'm trying to say? There's no point. So yeah, I mean, bro.
I don't think the injuries were done to our fitness coach though.
Yeah,
Like,
neither
put
do
in my
I.
hand.
No, it no. But you guys say this, right? The training that they're making them do is high intense training. You get what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
Like, bro, I'm sorry, bro. I'm so sorry, but like fitness is these coaches who do these trainings so like they don't even care about if the player gets fit or not. Like it's ridiculous. Like we really need to fix up. We really need to fix. I'm very sorry about this. Like I could see Davies getting an injury next game. I could see. You can disagree with me all you want, Milan Gasic. That's your opinion, you know. But what I've seen from Bayern over the past 2 3 years, these men are seriously getting injured at the wrong time. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, at least this season, beginning of the season, okay, fine. I'll give them a pass because it's just the beginning of the season. But when it gets to the nitty gritty and they're still having these injuries, I'm gonna be worried. I'm gonna be very worried because we can't have that, especially going into these big Champions League games. When is the draw? Is next week, right? The 25th.
Mhm.
I don't care about group stage. I really don't care about group stage. I care about the knockout stage. So it's all up to them. I really hope that they change the fitness coaches and those who make them do intense training, which they are not supposed to. Um, um, I would love if we went to go buy Sosa from Stuttgart as a backup left back. I'd also
Isn't he
love if
too
we could,
good to be a backup?
he there's no such thing as being too good. Yeah, I'm coming, bro.
Well, I think he's gone for a second, but there's one question I'm going to ask him, and that's about the topic that we had about the Bundesliga competitiveness, because I think he's the perfect. And I might mean that sarcastically, but he's the perfect person to ask when it comes to that question.
He's gonna give a very, very long and detailed answer as well. I'm looking forward to it. And honestly,
Prince, you see the fight during the Sevilla game?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Nianzou went straight in there.
Of course, that's my boy. That's my boy.
I was like, in my head, I'm just Nianzou, slap him up, do something.
But yeah, I guess until Kai's back, we'll go back to the topic that we had about which games we all watched. Again, I was ill, off with COVID, off from work and everything, so I basically was bedridden for like the past 2 weeks, which is why there hasn't been like a post-match discussion or review or anything from me. But in terms of games that I watched in like since like the last discussion, I've watched it a lot. Dortmund, of course, seeing how their season goes with the likes of Schlotterbeck, a huge fan of his. I really like what I saw from him. You've got Standard Liège in the Belgium league, who I also really wanted to watch a lot more this season. I watched a lot from them last season, but I wanted to watch a lot more this season from them because there's a few players in there that I really like. Not Bayern material by any means, but just a few players that I really like watching. You've got Sporting Charleroi. They've got a lot of players. Also, Belgium league. They've got a lot of players that I also like. Ryota Morioka specifically, who I think has quite an attractive way of playing football. Obviously, you've got my boy Gakpo at PSV. I mean, how can I not mention him? It's how can I not have a discussion stream for a week and not mention him at least 10 times? So there we go. I need to fill my quota. Neymar absolutely tearing up the French league, absolutely amazing. And another thing I mentioned, I wanted to watch a lot more Portuguese league. So I was watching Sporting game and the Porto game. I thought both those were really exciting. Then moving over to the MLS, New England. Gil, that's my boy. Carlos Gil. He is just so good. Like, it feels like, I know the MLS has like had a lot of people from Europe that are basically still in the prime moved there, and like in the likes of Bernadeschi and Insigne. And yet still Gil just looks above everyone else. Like that, if he played in Europe, he'd be playing for like a upper tier 1 team. So like you've got your like, who'd be an upper tier 1 team that I think he would work well in, like maybe not upper tier 1, but he'd be playing in a tier 1 team along the lines of like Arsenal or whatnot. And he's just so good. Like Arsenal, Dortmund, that kind of team. He's just such a good player. And every time I watch him, I'm just like, he reminds me so much of like a Mesut Ozil, just a better version of, but still as lazy as him, but still as good. That's kind of how he reminds me. And yeah, beyond that, just like the Bayern games, of course. Is there anyone else that I watch? Is there any team else that I watch? I don't think so. I watched a little bit of the Turkish league, just for, I think I mentioned him earlier, but Arda Güler, but he doesn't play, so that was a waste. But he's a talent that like I've got my eye on for this season. I think very highly of him, so I want to see how that pans out. But yeah, that's about it. This week I'm looking forward to a few things. One of them being obviously Dortmund against Werder Bremen. It's a Saturday game. I've got time this Saturday, so that's nice. Bayern isn't playing on Saturday. That's nice. I can watch other teams. Then I also want to watch the Dynamo Moscow versus Sparta Moscow, the Moscow derby. And the good thing about the Russian league is that it's free on YouTube. So like the Russian Premier League actually shows the games for free on YouTube. So that's always nice. And that game is at 3:30. So it's an hour into the Dortmund game. So if Dortmund game is going pretty well for them, I might turn on to the Moscow derby. Then you've got Porto versus Sporting. As I said, my goal for this season is to watch a lot more Portuguese games. So having the Porto versus Sporting game in the evening on Saturday is going to be very, very nice, I think. And yeah, then obviously, Sunday, Bayern. And then Monday, as we already talked about, is the United versus Liverpool game. On Sunday as well, Lille versus PSG. That should be very exciting, especially with like the apparent drama and fallout between Neymar and Mbappe. It's going to be quite interesting to see. But yeah, there's just a lot of football that I've been watching. A lot of like, teams that most people won't care about. But I've kind of neglected the Bundesliga, if I'm being honest. I watched a lot of like other leagues this season so far, but kind of neglected the Bundesliga besides Dortmund and Leverkusen games. But yeah, Core, quick question: are you back? Doesn't seem like it. Guess we'll have to wait to ask him the Bundesliga question for another time then. With that said, what games that everyone else is looking forward to then, besides obviously the Bayern games?
United Liverpool is the big one. Then what else is there? Checking the Premier League games right now.
No worries.
Wolves Spurs is interesting. Wolves have a good coach. So I want to see how well Spurs can do, because I think I'm banking on them getting second in the Premier League this season with Conte. We'll see.
Oh,
Yeah. Man City Newcastle's interesting. Holland couldn't score last game. Will he score against Newcastle? Yeah, I think those three will be interesting for me.
okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, but with that all said, I think let's call it a day here. It's basically 11 for me. I watched my boy Nianzou ball. We're not going to speak about the goal he conceded. We're not going to speak about that. But I watched my boy Nianzou play. And yeah, with that said, thank you everyone for watching. There's a lot of content in this video, in this discussion here. We've had our post-match review. We've had our preview as well. We've had a little bit of our discussion in regards to the Bundesliga, and we've had a little bit of a discussion in regards to Nianzou leaving Bayern. I do appreciate all of you watching. As always, give the video a thumbs up. Helps with the engagement. Not that I really, really, really care about it, if I'm being completely honest, but hey, other people do. I know I got a SEO message DM like this week from someone that was like, yo, your SEO is low. Really? I can help you get more views. And I'm like, bro, I don't really care about the views. Like, I'm sorry. I don't even make thumbnails. That's how little I care, right? But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I do want to say thank you to everyone for watching. As always, I do appreciate that. And we'll see you all next time. Thank you for all the engagement in regards to your comments, in regards to your questions, so on and so forth, your answers as well. And I do appreciate everyone who's joined us today. There's obviously a lot of people, but I think you were here from the beginning, Daniel. So I just want to say thank you to you too for being here. And I know Core isn't here at the moment, so I'll say that another time, but I know next time to message him privately. With that said, I think that's it. That's the curtain. The curtain falls on the show. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching. See you all next time. Have a good evening. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the rest of the month of August. There's a lot of more good stuff to come, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out. Daniel, is there anything you want to say?
Thank you for having us once again. I had fun.
That's always a pleasure. But yeah, with that said, we'll see all of you in the next one. Until then, have a nice day. Peace out. And as always,